Yes, people, welcome back to GNA TV and Chelsea Fan TV. Newcastle 1, Chelsea 0. We're here to discuss the loss again, 3 losses in a row. We spoke about how important the game was overall for Chelsea, just to get the win, forget the performance, forget who he picks a lineup, which is still important because that obviously leads to you winning. But just basically get the win, and we failed to do that. We failed to do that again. And there's got to be discussions to be had. Obviously, the Chelsea social at the moment is on rage and having a bit of a meltdown anyway on the past sort of games that we have lost. And now we find ourselves on the back of losing another game. We're going to go through some comments from Ben Jacobs. We're going to talk about the game. We're going to go through player ratings. Con said he will join us today as well, so we should have seriously Con join us forward as well when he gets the chance. Will come through. I need you guys to smash the like buttons as always. Lots to discuss as the last Chelsea show, because what we're going to look to do later in the sort of World Cup phase through the periods, we're going to start doing a couple of little mini shows on Chelsea, whether it's an agenda show, whether it's talking about transfers, whatever it is, on the build-up to that January window, we'll be going through to discuss as well. So that there'll be some more Chelsea stuff coming in and out through the World Cup as well. We'll be doing a little bit of World Cup stuff as well. Hopefully, we'll see. But yeah, big up to every single one of you guys that is here at the moment. We'll go through your comments first, see how you're all doing in the chat. I know it was a hard one for us to take again. I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions as always on this game as well. So smash the likes, and before we move forward, let's cue the Yes, people, welcome back to GNA TV and Chelsea Fan TV. I hope you guys are well wherever it is that you may be around the world. Chelsea again suffer another loss, 1-0 loss to Newcastle away. In a game that wasn't very, again, good to watch with the eye. We're going to get into that in a minute, actually, before I start waffling on about the game. But yeah, there's lots to talk about. I want to see how everyone is in the chat first. RD is in the chat talking some absolute God knows at the moment. And he's saying about QNT. What has this got to do with Brendan Rodgers right now, bro? Honestly, like, what is this? What is this comment? What is this comment? This is laughable. What's laughable was you talking in the chat about Brendan Rodgers at Chelsea. Why are we even talking about that, bro? Like, come on. Like, let's not do that. Let's not do that. Bring him on. Bring Kazim on. I like Kazim. I've got a lot of time for Kazim. If whoever wants to come in, tell him to come through. He knows where I am anyway. He knows he can come in when he wants. He can come in when he wants. Dale, big up to you, bro. Hope you're well. Sydney, Potter has shown his ability to motivate players, for God's sake. Yeah, and obviously we see the Yunus doing his I've seen it because he's been clipped up on Twitter, but obviously he speaks about training, going to watch him train, and certain players being motivated, and how Potter sort of is non-involved, which most managers aren't. Don't get wrong, that's why you have a training team, they deal with the players and whatever, but he relates that to the game and just seems to think that there's no motivation behind the manager. He's not that type of Conte-esque manager. Even Tuchel to a degree, that gets up and gets behind the players and tries to give a bit. And there's obviously question marks against him on that. He has his own style and way of doing things, and what he's done at Brighton up to the point before he left was good, and they backed him and gave him a bit of time. I'm not saying that that he's going to do that at Chelsea. Obviously, we want him to do that at Chelsea, but it's about time being given, and I think early judgments is probably the worst thing we could be doing right now. We can obviously be upset with the performances and the results, and I think by now, as a fan base, we all kind of know specifically why, maybe why we're having some of these results. I didn't expect us to lose 4 in a row, not going to lie. Not something that I'm used to seeing with Chelsea, obviously taken into the Man City game as well, but yeah, it is pretty much. I thought I sent the link to forward. Let me send the link to forward. I've got to send it to tonight. Let me send them this. There you go, forward. But yeah, we're going to get into that. Big up to you. Big up to Steve in the house as well. He says Chelsea will be lucky to even get Conference League, let alone Champions League, Europa League football. But could get it off other teams? could get it off other teams are also poor. Yeah, that's true. Not everyone's in form, barring Arsenal. I can't be Potter out because he has not had his transfers yet. Yeah, exactly what I was saying. We've got up to Gary in the house as well. Need to complete an overhaul, and that's going to take time. Struggling for some fun. And it is a true saying. For it to get worse, for it to get better, it has to get worse. And unfortunately, we're in between that at the moment. I think the World Cup coming in and when it did is actually again a bit of a lifeline for Potter and Chelsea in the fact that we're not in great form. We are suffering from injuries. It gives us enough time rejuvenate, I don't know, think about what he's trying to do, how he's going to tackle the next part. Obviously, we need to start winning games. That's the most important thing. He's going to have to come back and he's going to have to work out how he can get the best out of his players. And that's what Thomas Tuchel did so well. And I don't like reverting to him, but Thomas Tuchel did so well prior to his sacking at Chelsea. He found a way of getting them to play. All right, it may have not been consistent or pretty to the eye. We didn't like it, but we were still, not losing games like we had. I mean, Tuchel wouldn't lose 4 games in a row. Yeah, he just wouldn't, but it is what it is, and it goes down to the core of the squad that's gone back to then. This was always going to happen to me. At one point, we was going to hit a real big patch of bad form where, we start losing back to back games, which is never really happened with Chelsea. Usually we lose 1 or 2 games and then we win again. And then we, we kind of bounce back, and then there's like this up and down, there's no consistency. Right now, we're just down. We're down in the gutter. We can't even get up. Do you know what I mean? So it does suck. We'll come to forward in a second. They're saying my audio is a bit funny. Can people hear me, or is it just me? Can you hear me forward?
Yo, you can hear you, bro, but it's like you're talking from a toilet, bro. It's just a bit. Yeah, it's like you're talking from like a well, pretty much. Well, let's see if Jam can get that sorted. But big up to you, man. Here, drop a like on the channel on that, guys. Yeah, we're gonna discuss Chelsea again. Another embarrassing defeat. 3 L's on the bounce. I think that's the first time we've had that since 2015, which was Mourinho's time at the end of his time. So, yeah, lots to discuss, man. Lots to discuss. What you man saying as Jem sorts himself out? Him saying I will entertain you guys. I'll try. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not as mad as a lot of people are at the result because I kind of just seen it coming. And I understand where the team is at right now, innit? Yo,
now?
you good, Jem?
Yeah, am I better now? Or...
Yeah, I think it's a bit better. It's not quite as crisp as it was the last time I was on, though. But it's a bit better, though.
What about now? Is that better?
It's better than it was before you left. Just a bit better.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's manageable for me. I think a lot of people in the chat maybe are. They're used to like a prestige quality, I guess. But yeah.
As long as you can hear me, though, it's not like you can't hear me, is it? Or it sounds a bit dodgy or anything. As long as you can hear what I'm saying, that's all I care about at the moment. It might sort itself out a bit later on, guys. Sorry about that. A bit of technical issues as always. We've got over 120 of you guys here as well. Big up to every single one of you that's currently in here. It's a raid at the moment. Yeah, it was a raid. I mean, Forward must have thought, what happened? Jim's gone. Elias, big up to you. Big up to Gary. Big up to Charles. Big up to John CFC. Luca, Jem, your sounds like your room hasn't got no curtains, bruv. Echoing. Really? Oh, this is annoying me. Keep doing what you're doing, Forward. Yeah, just keep talking to him because I need to get this sorted. Obviously, 2 seconds, mate. It just sounds like
no worries, bro. No worries.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, cool. I mean, if you guys have any questions, pop it in the chat. Obviously we'll get properly more into the dialogue once Jem can sort out his audio issues. But listen, for me, man, like I understand where this club is at, so I know that performances like that are gonna happen, and that's why it's funny, right? Like when Chelsea are doing all right and winning games, and like the results are at least acceptable for where Chelsea should be, like I am perceived as one of the more negative fans, or I'm so negative, I can't be positive, I can't do this, that. And it's like, cool, I mean, you guys can say that. I just hold this club to higher standards. But now we've reached a point where a lot of these guys have been exposed for the players that they are. Like, I'm not as depressed or as reactionary as like a lot of fans are saying that, oh, sack the players, sack all of them, sack Potter and all of this. I'm not really going to hit the doomsday button. I can actually see the forest for the trees in this sense. And I know that things will get better, but we have to also accept that as bad as it is now, it can get worse, and it probably will get worse before it gets better. But I think I've seen enough positives, and not just on the pitch, because there's not been many positives on the pitch. Let me make that very clear. But I've seen a lot of positives in the takeover from Bowley and things he's doing behind the scenes to at least show me that there is a long-term route back to being a top football club. So in that sense, I'm okay with, like, I'm not gonna get depressed seeing that sorrow of crap that we saw. I'm not gonna be effing and blinding and whatnot. It is what it is, isn't it? We just gotta hold that. Just gotta firm it for now.
I don't know if this is any better. I've pulled it out, plugged it in, or whatever. That sounds a little bit clearer, or it still sounds the same.
Nah, it's the same, bro. Again, we can hear you, but it's just it's still a bit echoey on that.
Really? I don't know what's going on. I generally don't know why it's doing what it's doing. Jim, your mic doesn't work. Seems like you come through the TV. Sorry, bro. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I've unplugged it a couple of times as well. I'll see what I can do with it. Your mic is.
Maybe check your StreamYard settings, because I know there's like a way to have echo cancellation in the settings on StreamYard.
I'm like echoing. I don't get it. I need to hear myself. I need to actually hear myself. That's what I need to do.
Check on It's not like you're echoing, but it just sounds echoey. Like it's just like if you go to audio settings and then go to mic, check if you have echo cancellation on. That may be what it is.
Turn off my echo cancellation now. Let's try that. What about now?
Say something else.
What about now? Is that better? Am I echoing still, guys? Still echoing?
Well, now it's even worse. I can hear myself.
How is it? This is annoying me, man. What is it doing? It's ruining my show. It's we can hear you. It's just not as crisp. No, but it's not the point. It shouldn't be doing that. Why is it doing this? Why are you doing this to me? He's echo. It's okay. They're saying it's the same. This is. It's never done this before. I've never had this problem. Let me try it. What about now? I might come out and come back in quickly. Yeah, is that alright? I just want to quickly.
Yeah, try that, Ron. Alright. Again, while Jem sorts himself out, you guys put some questions in the chat. Let me know what you guys think on yesterday, because obviously we'll get into player ratings and that. Again, talk about obviously the short term, because as much as I have a long term perspective on things, and that things will get better, obviously with recruitment and actual long term planning and structure, and not just hiring and firing managers and trying to just get managers like Conte and Mourinho to just win us trophies in the short term. We obviously I prefer a long term process in a sense. But we obviously can't ignore what's happening right now, and obviously have to address Graham Potter, a lot of the mistakes that he's making. Again, I'm not Potter out by any means. I feel like it's way too early to say that for a manager that just got a 5-year contract. But we also can't ignore a lot of the mistakes that he's making. And then, of course, we have to address these players who, yet again, have let us down, because performances, again, 3 L's on the bounce in the league, that's unacceptable, man.
Am I still really bad?
I tell you what, that's better. Again, it's still not completely crisp, but that is better. Yeah, that is better.
I've unplugged all the back of the thing and put it all back in, and I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to keep talking, and people can just let me know if I'm still echoing or if the echo's gone. Or whatever.
It's still a bit robotic. It's still a bit robotic, but it's manageable, to be honest. I don't think we should spend the whole stream trying to sort it out. It's manageable.
All right, then. So let's get into this. Let the show go on, Jim. It's calm. Still echo. Oh, man. All right. I'm gonna have to get on with it, and I ain't got no choice. So we saw these comments from Ben Jacobs real quickly. He was talking about Graham Potter and obviously the fan base reacting to wanting him sacked, wanting him gone. And obviously he's just explained the cutthroat approach that Chelsea had in the past is gone now. It's something where you need to have a bit of time. Key players need to be brought in. We know that certain players need to be flushed out as well. He goes on to say it takes time to implement a new style, culture, and perhaps most importantly for long-term success. Recruitment model, the senior leadership team at Chelsea is still being built, and they're fixing many problems that predated them, which we know about. And again, I think we need to take that in and understand. Granted, some will call sacking Thomas Tuchel a problem of their own making, hence a lack of patience amongst a few with Potter. But the ownership group and Tuchel had strategic differences that proved untenable and started as early as pre-season. The sanctions and super speed sale created a period of instability, impacting not just internal mood, but setting back from the CFC's window planning. That's not only affected last summer, but will influence January and next summer. Chelsea are behind rivals for Jude Bellingham, for example, saying. But he talks about Rudiger, which I'm not going to go on about as well, because he's got a load of threads here and whatever. And then he basically talks about the lack of first team players that Chelsea are missing. James, Ben Chilwell, Fofana, Kante, who are all sort of first starters in this team, and obviously ultimately help this system. And we know that our depth is not at the level of the players that we're actually missing out. When you look at the midfield yesterday, Jorginho and Kovacic weren't great. They weren't great, but they never get to the level of what Kante is when he's fit, and that is a problem. And like these are the kind of players that these are the kind of players that you need in your team, especially when you've got a quite limited team in terms of quality. So we're missing on that. He's also talking about Potter is seen as a fit for an exciting yet risk-reward period of further uphill. He was told at interview the goal was top 4 this season, but also reassured, providing progress is made, he wouldn't be sacked if it wasn't achieved. So what do they mean by that? So basically they're saying top 4 is still the target, but they're also telling he won't get sacked, but providing progress is made. How can you make progression if you're not in the Champions League? Say you're out of the Champions League, that's not progression, that's taking a step back, isn't it? So that makes sense to me in what that's.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's progression in terms of like there's like a clear style of play, how the team is, like at least the team is improving in terms of how we look on the pitch from pretty much this entire calendar year. Because I mean, we finished top 4 last season and whatnot, but the football wasn't great. Obviously, under Tuchel, I think we were maybe outside the top 4 when he got sacked. So obviously, like we can still improve on where we were as a team without finishing top 4. But of course, if what we're doing now carries on throughout the whole season, then you're obviously missing out on your main priority, which was top 4, and the team, if anything, is looking like it's going backwards. So at that point, then we have to consider maybe Potter being sacked in his first year, which again is crazy because we just gave the guy a 5-year contract. So yeah.
Wicked. Let's bring Con in as well. Con, what you saying, bro?
You right, mate?
Not bad. How are you, bro? You alright?
Yeah, not too bad, bro. Not too bad.
I have real problems with my mic at the moment. Apparently, I sound like I'm underwater, so I'm not exactly.
You do.
I can't. I've been mucking around for the last 5-10 minutes trying to get it sorted, so I'm gonna have to kind of as long as you can hear what I'm saying, do you know what I mean? But just gonna have to continue it, and hopefully it will sort itself out a bit later. But Carl, man, long time no speak, mate. Obviously, I know you've not been well and whatever, so I'm assuming you're better now. You feeling better?
Yeah. Even though I'm not vaccinated at all, 3rd time with it. After a couple of days, I was completely fine. Just a bit tired and sleeping, and then I had Chelsea on the other hand. So it's like 1 minute I'm ill, 1 minute I'm watching Chelsea. Just not good vibes. But I'm here now. Knowing there's a World Cup, no Chelsea for over a month, I feel a lot better.
Good to hear, man. Good to hear. Listen, look, we're going to talk about the game, obviously, specifically soon anyway. But I want to get your thoughts on Graham Potter. Obviously, I spoke to Ford quite a lot in previous shows about his thoughts on the whole scenario. Obviously, the fan base is a bit up in the air at the moment. Some are calling for him to be sacked. Others saying give him time. See, the performances ain't going well at the moment. We've lost 4 in a row. If you take in the Man City game as well. I mean, looking at Graham Potter at the moment, do you feel that it's very sort of too early to judge him at the moment, or what's your thoughts on the whole Graham Potter as manager?
To be fair, I've got very conflicting thoughts, because there's a part of me thinking we sacked Tuchel for this guy, a proven elite manager who I knew he was getting too much out of this current group of players. Tuchel did. So when a new manager came in, I'd be scared of something like this happening where the new manager would struggle. But at the same time, like Graham Potter, I do like him. He should be given a bit of time at least. If we're like 10th at the end of the season, then yeah, we need to talk again. But I think it's way too early to call him out. But he needs to stop being so naive, and he seems very self-aware of the mistakes he makes, but he still makes them, which it really confuses me. And some of his quotes after games, it does my head in. But I've seen a lot of people saying like he's going to make mistakes, it's going to take time, but he inherited Chelsea. Like this squad, it's not the best Chelsea side. It's probably one of the worst we've seen in recent history fair enough. But at the same time, we're not 8th level. You know, I look at United, I look at Tottenham. Are they really that much better than us? No. In my opinion, just no. So he needs to do better, and I'm pretty sure he himself needs to do better. But it's more than just a Graham Potter problem. Sure, he can do more to help himself, like 100%. But there's injuries, there's players who are just not good enough. So, you know, I feel he can be doing better, and maybe at times just look not to concede. And if we draw, we draw. I know that sounds ridiculous coming as a Chelsea fan saying something like that, but sometimes you just need to grind out a draw instead of losing, you know. But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm very conflicted with him because I had a lot of love for the guy who was before him, and I tried to separate that and say, all right, move on. It's just hard to when things are going like they are, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I've changed my settings on my mic, so I don't know if it's got even worse now or if it's better. But yeah, I've just done something. I don't know if I still sound like I'm underwater to you guys, or does it sound a bit clearer?
It's not really any better, but to be honest, bro, like we put up with 12 months of shit football, so we can put up with you having a dodgy mic for one episode. You know what I mean?
Very true, very true.
All right, so let's go back to forward at this one. Forward, Mason Mount comes out of this comment. Obviously, he's pretty much apologising to the fan base. He's also saying, you know, that when they get back, that you know they pretty much owe it to the fans to put in some performances as well. Just let's not talk about specific players. I won't just talk about the crop itself. Obviously, they've been poor the last 4 games, but I mean, what is it for you? Because like I'll tell you what I think it is after I've asked you. But what do you think it? From these 4 games that you've seen, what is it that you think from what you've seen in the way the players are playing, the mentality, all of that? What is it you think's just not working at the moment? Is it just the selective players, or is it more just not having the spine and the mental side of it, or like what do you think it is when you look at these crop of players and what you've seen in their performances?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a culmination of things, and like it's hard to speak on it without speaking about the manager because obviously he's the head of it. And again, like I said at the top of the show, like obviously I'm not Potter out. He obviously needs time, and obviously he inherited all of these issues. But I guess my biggest gripe with Potter is that while inheriting these issues, it did seem to me like even when we were winning, I said that it didn't look like he had watched much of Chelsea before he had become manager. And like obviously when you take over the job, I think you should do your due diligence and actually do your homework on what are the issues that led us to sacking a manager that won the Champions League 12 months prior, right? And I don't feel like he really done that. And it's kind of frustrating seeing him make the same mistakes. Again, like Con said, I think he's a bit not. It's again, he's looking like he's naive. I don't want to say he's naive, but again, I was worried when he came in that he may not have the personality and the strength of character to manage a group of super egos. Because whether we like it or not, and you think these players are talented or not, they certainly have egos of top players compared to players at Brighton or Swansea or Ostersons. So obviously, I think it's difficult for Potter to really implement his style on these players currently. So obviously, the players are struggling with that. But again, by no means am I going to put all of the blame or even most of the blame on Potter. The blame lies mostly, especially with yesterday, on these players who, again, 3 losses in a row in the league. I think 4 in a row in all competitions. Well, excluding Zagreb at home, which for me doesn't count. It's a combination of these players obviously losing their confidence and a combination of players who aren't technically great. Like, let's be real. Again, I've watched Chelsea for now near enough 20 years, right? So I know what the standards of Chelsea should be. And in terms of like having a good skill set, being well-rounded, and having like elite attributes that make you worthy of having that shirt and being somebody that I can say, and we should say that we're proud of watching. For me, only a fit N'Golo Kante has elite attributes that I can say, yeah, he can play in any team in the world. Reece James, I can say the same. And Thiago Silva, he's 38 and has limitations because he is 38. I think, yeah, I can say that, you know what, you are world class. Other than that, I'm sorry, none of these guys are world class, have many world class attributes. And now we're just seeing them obviously low on confidence now, not showing really great fight, great ambition, great fearlessness to even take on players. Again, you're seeing Lewis Hall come into the team and look better than most because he's actually taking players on and he's like not afraid to try things on the pitch, where a lot of these players are pretty much scarred from playing terrible football the last 12 months. And again, for me, unlike most people, I'm not here depressed, here upset. My voice is a bit hoarse because of watching the UFC last night, which was a crazy, crazy event. Again, got a lot more entertainment from that than watching Chelsea the last 12 months. But
yeah, 100%.
Again, for me, I'm not mad at all. It's just I'm almost happy in the sense that these guys are being exposed for what they are, because I feel like, again, just to end on this point, I feel like they kind of got accustomed to playing their football and getting mediocre results and thinking that's okay for Chelsea. But for me, it isn't. And again, I think for a lot of fans, we should have been upset watching the football that we watched the last 12 months. And I'm happy that these guys are being exposed. They are having to understand that, you know what you're doing isn't good enough. It won't work anymore. And there's now a new manager here. So, yeah, he's going to get some blame. But we can't just all say, oh, that's the manager's fault, because we just seen another manager get sacked with these same players. So I'm glad that these players are now having to have a period like this where they are under the microscope. They are being exposed for what they are. And again, hopefully over this World Cup period, they're able to improve, because this is not good enough for the whole season. It's not.
I think mine might be better now. I'll just listen to myself. But yeah, anyway, I think I might have worked it out. But anyway, we move on from that.
Bro. A lot better.
Con, same question to you, bro, really. We're going to do player ratings in a minute and talk about the players individually and how poor they've been in the last 4 games on an individual basis. But when you look at the overall crop and what you've seen in the last 4 games, doesn't matter who he seems to play or line up or who he seems to pick, it just doesn't feel like there's a connection or a bit of chemistry going on between the two. Is it like what is it that from what you've seen from this crop of players in the last 4 games? What do you think it might be from what you're watching as well?
If I'm being totally honest, every team we played, this seems like the other team wants to win more than us. I think it boils down to they're prepared to run harder than us. They're prepared to be more physical than us. You know, they're more inclined to play as a team. This group of players is probably the worst Chelsea team in my lifetime I've seen in terms of mentality. It's the worst. Ever since we lost Rudiger, we lost that one guy. Do you know when shit weren't going good? He'd grab the ball, he'd run for that 30, 40 yards with the ball, you know, he'd get the crowd up and going, you know. We don't have that anymore. You know, like this it's just a weak, spineless bunch. And then you showed that Mason Mount apology afterwards. We don't want to see that, man. With how you've been performing in particular, we don't want to see that, man. Like we are happy that the World Cup's coming. We don't care about your Instagram post.
You're not happy coming out and he's just telling the fans, like, look, because I feel like when you ignore it and don't say anything, it's like, what is going on? But he's coming out and trying to say, look, we know it's not good. We know we're not playing well enough, and we're going to try and rectify that after the World Cup for you. Do you not feel that's a better thing for someone to come out and do? Or you rather just stay away? No?
I'd rather him just shut his mouth, to be honest, because I still don't forget he posted a TikTok a day after us losing the cup final, you know? Like, that really wound me up. So, but it is what it is. Like this group of players, like I said, Jem, is just weak, they're spineless. You know, when one thing goes against them, that's it. Game's done. Like, as soon as we go 1-0 down, I can guarantee you any Chelsea fan will say, hand on their heart, the game's over for us. When we came back against West Ham, bro, I was so surprised. So surprised we won that game. But
it's facts, man. It's facts. You know what? You're right. You said something that is so true. Do you know, I had the game on yesterday and I had some friends around and I stayed up quite late, had a couple of drinks and whatever. So I'm a bit forward. My voice is a bit funny at the moment. But, you know, we were watching, I was watching the game and, you know, I had it on, but I didn't have the volume on. I just see it on the screen. I'm watching it and I saw the lineup and I thought to myself, right, straight away, and we're going to talk about it now, the game. But, you know, where's the creativity coming from? I just knew straight away by looking at it. You know, by that in myself, I just thought, right, that's the first thing Graham Potter's got wrong from what I've seen already, right? But I'm going to give it a chance, see how it goes and whatever. And I'm sitting there watching the game, and not once did we have any control at any point in that game. It wasn't like we were doing what we did under Thomas Tuchel in terms of dominating possession, not always creating the most, but, you know, dominating the possession and maybe getting caught by the opposite. It's like we're not doing that anymore. You know, it's like, I don't know. I know in the way that we play under Potter and in the little things that I've seen from what I think he's trying to do is, I think he is trying to make us move forward quicker with the ball and hit these transitions quicker. I just don't trust these crop of players in doing that or being able to carry out what the manager wants. And when I was watching yesterday's game, it's just too many individuals on the pitch. Again, you know, and in some of them, and I'm talking about the midfield, they weren't even doing their jobs properly. And when Willock scored that goal, which was it was a great goal, it was a great finish. Don't get me wrong. You know, I knew we weren't coming back. I knew it. I looked at the TV, I picked up my gin, and I just laughed, and I was just like, we ain't getting back in this. And he put Pulisic on at that point as well, so he was trying to give us more on the offensive side. And I'm sitting there, and I'm just like, we've lost. And that is a horrible fault to have as a Chelsea fan. When you think about the last 20 years of how we were built and model, we used to lose games. Don't get me wrong. But there's a way you lose games, yeah? And like you said, it's the bottle, the mentality. They don't have any of that, this team. You know, it's like you said, I've never felt so disattached from a bunch of players than I have with these players. I just don't trust them, you know. And this is why when people run around social media after Slater and Potter, I get it to a degree in terms of decision making, that line up, being able to change the game through sort of the minutes that's being played, 50, 60 minutes, you know, early substitutions, whatever. But he doesn't have that. He's not doing that, and I don't think that helps him. And that's why I think that when people are moaning about him not being tactically flexible in a way, in between games, I'm talking about, then I get that bit. I just feel sorry for him. I'll be honest with you. I feel sorry for him when he lines up. He's missing a lot of core players anyway, we already know, but he lines up. It doesn't matter what team he just tries to put out to try and push us or give us something. We just don't have anything. It's weird. It doesn't matter what you... And this is why it annoys me when people go, Havertz and Mount is shit. Yeah, all right, their performances have been shit. But then you take them off, and what are you putting on from the bench that makes this system better without them on the pitch? What is it? Who is it that's going to come on and give us this, you know, give us something? The answer to it is none of them do. And that's really bad. That is a big problem that we're suffering with, and we're going to have to suffer with. But he's got to do something very important now, right? And this is what Thomas Tuchel did very well, to a degree. I say very well, done well, shall I say? Not very well, but well, and very well, bit of both. He got the best out of these players. Yeah, he managed to get through games, not playing great football, not playing Tuchel-esque football. We just won games, and we weren't leaking as many goals, but we were winning games, and we're just getting through it. You know, Potter's got to do the same. He can't keep going on the back of like 3-4 losses in a row and then maybe win 1 or 2 and then lose another 2. And then, you know, like he needs to find a bit of consistency or something out of these players. And these players owe that to us to try and at least challenge for the Champions League. And we should be challenging for Champions League with this squad still. And the fact that the World Cup's come as it is now, for me, is kind of like a blessing in a way. It's like a get out of jail card in Monopoly in a way for Graham Potter. Because we are missing so many players and it's not working at the moment. Maybe having this break to analyse and think and do and then bring the injured players back in and go again, maybe is a blessing for Chelsea. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe it's not, you know, but it was just not impressive. You know, I don't enjoy watching us. I haven't enjoyed watching us for a very long time. It's not good. But we are going to do the ratings for the players, but I thought I'd ask you your opinion on the game overall from watching it. What were your thoughts from not just from the players' perspective, because we're going to do the ratings, but also from like a tactical standpoint as well?
Yeah, well, obviously people know me. For the people that do know me, they know I love my tactics, looking at sort of the game from a coach's perspective, right? So obviously the approach today was yesterday was similar to the approach against Man City, and at least I will give Potter credit that at least there was a clear identity of what we were trying to do compared to the Arsenal game or the Brighton game. So at least I'll give him that, right? And obviously starting Breuer up front, trying to play more direct at times, not trying to get as boxing as we were under Newcastle's press. I thought that was at least good. Obviously, again, we are a defensive possession-based team. That's what we were on the Tuchel. So we haven't got a lot of the fundamentals to help us offensively that a lot of other teams do that do have. That's just the facts of it. So obviously looking at the team again, he starts with the back five. It is what it is. I'm happy at this point with her Chelsea. It makes sense to try and be defensive and try and hit teams on a counter. So that again makes sense. But then you start with Mount and Gallagher as your 10s. Now this for me again with Potter, it was a defensive play. And obviously they were tasked with doing a lot of defensive work, and you got people like Nisar Cancela online talking about, oh, Gallagher was everywhere, oh, they're doing amazing work defensively. And I mean, I'm not going to say that they weren't doing decent work defensively, but you guys are our 10s, you are creative players, you're meant to be part of the attack. So a lot of your performance I have to judge you on is what you do offensively, what you bring to the team. And they brought hardly anything. Again, we will get into personal ratings later on, but it was just not good enough. Again, I do sympathize slightly with Potter losing, obviously, Ruben early in the game. Again, whether people like Ruben or not, The stats do show that he's one of our, if not our most progressive player in terms of traveling with the ball. So obviously losing him early as we did for Aspie, he's obviously a very different wing back, did not help, and obviously he got cooked. We'll get onto him later. So again, I'll give Potter at least some credit in a sense for at least setting up better than he has in recent weeks, but still not good enough. Still not good enough. A lot of mistakes. Again, you say that. So obviously, Jim, you said that again, Havertz and Mount, they're playing like crap, and nobody can really replace them, right? And I do hear that to an extent, but at least with Pulisic, we get a skill set of somebody who's actually going to drive with the ball. Now, again, I'm a big critic of Pulisic. I think he lacks some composure in battle moments.
What did he do?
So what'd you say, bro?
What did he do yesterday when he came on the pitch?
He drove the ball. He drove with the ball a couple of times, which was better than what we've seen from Mount and Gallagher. Again, I won't say he was great. I think this is one of his worst performances coming off the bench. I think we've seen him have better performances off the bench, like against Brentford, where he was a bit more progressive. But I just think for me, if you're going to be playing on a counter attack, have ball carriers, have natural ball carriers. You have Royo who be forced to run the channels a lot, which I think he offered more doing that than Aubameyang for sure. But he was left on an island by himself so much, and you have guys like Mount and Gallagher, they're not going to progress the ball enough. And then when they have the ball in the final third, I don't see amazing creativity from them. So that obviously hurt us a lot during the game. And again, like Con said, the fight for the team was not there. The midfield pivot, my God, we will get into those two because those two they've been protected a lot by this fan base. And wow, some of the things that I saw yesterday was embarrassing. Again, Bruno Guimaraes showed them levels. Flipping Sean Longstaff, like I won't lie, this is a guy that I've kind of bantered in the past. Like I remember United were linked to signing him, and I thought, yeah, go sign that guy because he's crap. But I mean, this season he's looked good, and boy, we made him look like flipping prime Clarence Seedorf, bro. He bossed our midfield yesterday. That was crazy. So yeah, man, embarrassing performance, and yeah, let's just get into these player ratings because these guys, wow, good enough.
Yeah, we'll do that. Obviously, this was the lineup. I'll ask Con his thoughts real quickly, and then we'll get straight into the player ratings. Con, what was your thoughts when you saw this lineup, mate?
I didn't want to watch the football game, to be honest. I was just like you. I was like, where's this creativity coming from then? I saw Lewis Hall, and I was like, all right, it gives me an excuse to watch the game.
Yeah.
But I was like, the zero creativity in this, like that front three makes me feel ill. It generally made me feel even worse, bro. Like, I just recovered, and that put me into some deep state I didn't want to be in. But it's just, I am sick to death of, if we're going to set up to play in transition, right? Like, we got to at least try to counter press or something like that.
Yeah.
And we just look so lazy when we're off the ball. And it just feels so easy to get through us. It's just annoying, bro. Like, our first passing, like our first phase and second phase of play is so crap these days as well. It's so bad. Like, at least under Tuchel, it's only like the final third that really let us down, and they kept that majority of the time. The first two phases were fine, but nah, they're awful as well. So I saw this lineup, I was like, yeah, it's not gonna be fun at all. Not gonna be fun at all.
You said something that we're going to do the ratings now. Actually, you said something that was quite important. Something that always sticks in my head when I watch Chelsea of recent as well is that we get broken down. It's like, I find it weird that teams walk through us as easy as they do. And at the last 4 games, it's happened so many times. And it's with us with the ball. Like, we'll have the ball. And like you said, we're so slow. We don't really have a plan of how we're going to get the ball forward or who's the one that's going to create the space or even create, and we lose the ball because we try and do too many like 1-2s and then run into spaces and then the pass is failed or someone gets caught out of position. And then it's like, when you look at the opposition's transition from where they pick the ball up to then where they find themselves pretty much inside our box, running at our fullbacks and then creating, it's happened so much in the last 4 games. It's like they kind of invite it on, knowing that we ain't got nothing. And then when they win the ball, they're confident enough knowing that they're going to go up to the other end of the pitch and they're going to give us problems because we were kind of allowing them to have the space to give us problems. And it happens so many times, mate. We're so easily targeted without the ball. It's ridiculous. It actually really winds me up when I watch us because I'm thinking to myself, is it players not understanding their roles? Are we just set up wrong? Or do they not just give a shit? Because sometimes I look at it and I'm just like, even the effort, I'm like, do they not care? Is this why it looks so easy for them to get in behind all the time? Like, I don't know. It really, at the moment, I'm glad the World Cup's turned up. I'll be honest with you, because I really don't have any positive or good feelings with Chelsea. I don't think any of us do, to be honest. But this was the stats: 51% to their 48%. Keeps going back to what I'm saying. The last 2 games that we played before this, we were beaten in possession by Man City and Arsenal. You know, and all right, they're good teams and whatever, but we got bullied in possession. We kind of conceded it. Here, you'd expect us to have more than 50%. Usually we hit 60 to 70% possession. We're only hitting pretty much bang on average with what Newcastle are, 51 to their 48. We had 5 shots the whole game. And in the first half, we had, I think it was 4 shots, or 4 of them shots were in the first half. And only 1 was on target. So again, we were not having enough shots. Again, it is no surprise. So, it's just not good enough. I'm not going to bore you with this stuff because it's just a waste of time. So let's just get into the player ratings. I think that's what people are waiting for. Guys, make sure we're smashing the likes, please. Let's get these likes up over 100 if we can on each GNA TV and Chelsea Fan TV. Nearly 300 of you guys here tuned in as well. Big up to every single one of you that are currently on the show. We are going to do player ratings, which means you guys can get involved as well. I know you guys are waiting for this one to have this discussion about individual player performances, not only for the Newcastle game, which we're going to do, but we're just going to talk about them and their, and their sort of importance, if there is any, in this team moving forward, or maybe even if we should look to kick them off, because that's how I think that's to the point it's got now for me. And obviously we're going to start with Edouard Mendy, who's coming for Kepa. Forward, I ain't got much to say with Mendy. I ain't going to say anything because I don't think there was much he could have done with the goal. And other than that, I don't think he had much to do. He had a couple of saves here and there, but again, nothing that really stands out for me. So what's your thoughts on Mendy?
Yeah, not really too much to say on his performance, really. Again, obviously couldn't do much with the goal. I think what I do like that he brings to the team compared to Kepa is that he's better at like marshalling his box, like getting to crosses, catching things. So I think that's better. On the ball though, and this hurts for me to say because he's one of the few players that I like in his team because again, this is a very unlikable team. But with Mendy, right, like I feel like his distribution's been quite harshly maligned for a long time. I don't think it's as bad as people are saying. I think on the ball he's not great in terms of like his touch, and it'll take quite a while to get it out his feet. And again, especially if you're at the stadium like I know you are quite a lot, Jeff. He will build nerves in the fan base just for how long he's taken on the ball and kind of dallying on it. And obviously we've seen big mistakes come from it. But his distribution in recent games has just not been good enough. And it's like, I know you're better than that, man. Even with both of you, I've seen you distribute the ball well. And in recent weeks, again, he's not finding this man often enough, putting us under pressure at silly times, taking too long and just building anxiety through the defense, which is building through the whole team. So, yeah, I feel like that is just annoying. That's an annoying aspect that I've seen in recent games that needs to improve. But yeah, as for yesterday, I'll probably just give him a base 5 because again, not much he could do with a goal, and he didn't have to make too many saves other than that. So it just is what it is.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I'll ask Con the same question. We have got some serious conversations to have about not only the players that started, but some others that did come on as well. But Con, I mean, Kepa's injured. Mendy comes in. Can we really blame him for the goal? I don't think so.
Nah, it's not his fault for the goal. Willock hit that with conviction, bro. He hit that he hit that with fucking. He hit that dangerously. I ain't seen a Chelsea player hit a ball like that for a long while, bro. For a long while. I think I'll go with what's his name? Forward. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with everything he says. The ball distribution from Mendy, like when he first came in, it was actually all right. When people used to say it was bad, like I'd defend him a little bit. Like he's actually not bad, and it just seems like that's just fell off a cliff, and his ball distribution is absolutely horrible. It looks like his shot stopping slowly coming back though. That Man City was a good example of that. So hopefully he finds that form when he first joined, or maybe we'll get a bit of in between from what we've had and that great form, because maybe that's a bit unsustainable for him to keep, because that's what like best in the world level. So
fair enough, mate. Let's move away from Mendy because I'm sure there's more pressing matters to talk on. We'll start with Koulibaly. Right, I'm going to say this straight up. When he first come in, I thought we got a lot of criticism, for his performances, and I actually thought he weren't too bad. Don't get me wrong. The last couple of games, he's not looked good. I'll be honest with you, and I don't know whether it's just the overall team not looking good, but him being one of the experienced players, you'd expect him to be, I don't know, a little bit more important in that squad. However, at the same time, people were arguing, saying, well, He may be experienced in class, but it's his first season in the Premier League. He needs time to adapt. I hear all that. I don't know. I think it's hard to blame the defence fully because as bad as we are at the moment, I don't think our defence is the real root of the issues in our squad. But it's still just not impressed me. And in this game, I don't know. He didn't really impress me again too much. For me, I'll probably say a 4 for Koulibaly. What are you saying, Ford?
Koulibaly, wow, he's starting to very much surprise me because again, this was one of the few signings in the summer that I was relatively happy about. Again, I was very upset that we lost Rudiger for free. But I thought in Koulibaly, at least we're getting somebody who's experienced, which would be a good leader for a quite a young group. Again, has been a top centre back for many years, so we're getting him in his prime. The adaptation period to the Premier League shouldn't be too long for a guy as good as him. Coming off a really good year at Napoli and also winning the AFCON, so like this should have been a really good signing that keeps us at the level that we were defensively, if not maybe improves us. And in recent weeks, he's just not been at the level. He's looking like a young, rash defender who needs to adapt to the league, and that shouldn't be the case for a guy as experienced as him. And it's very concerning. Again, for a long time, I was wondering why he wasn't getting maybe more minutes under Potter. Maybe now we're starting to see why Potter was hesitant to play him and has been playing Cucurella as a left centre back in recent games. And obviously now against City, I thought he was quite poor. Again, yesterday, caught out in behind a lot of times, wasn't backing up Paul when it's situations where he needed to be to deal with Almiron. Even on the goal, like he's caught too tight and then first of all, he doesn't get tight enough initially, and then you're making a poor slide tackle, like to try and stop him from getting the ball to Willock, where obviously eventually they score. And just not good enough in so many instances. Like he's very much a reactive defender, which kind of is very disappointing. I thought somebody of his experience would be reading the game a lot better and able to snuff out danger without having to like slide around or be so hectic with his defending. So very frustrating with Koulibaly, man. Very frustrating. That is one that surprised me this season. So I personally would have given him a 3. I just wasn't impressed at all, man. Not at all.
Yeah. Koulibaly, does he just need a bit of time? Or is he's just not been good, is he, really? Especially in this game.
He's Chelsea's new Alonso in some aspects, in terms of this guy gets yellow carded every single game. Every single game, bro, a yellow card. Like, I can't be bothered. He's so reckless at times. And like, I've watched Napoli a fair bit over the years, and I've always been so impressed with Koulibaly. So is the speed of the league the issue? I personally don't think it is. So I just don't know what's going on with him. I think it's clear as day he's not a left-sided centre back in the 3. I think we can all agree on that. If he's going to be playing in the back 3, it needs to be in that centre back role, not on the left side. But yeah, he's just so reckless and he goes to ground so easy. And for that Joe Willock goal, it really annoyed me just seeing that from Koulibaly. It really annoyed me. He gets beaten so easy, just cuts in on him, gets past him. It's like, just can't be bothered. Yesterday, 3. I don't know what's been up with him, but he's been really getting on my nerves, Koulibaly. The worst centre-back for us this season, in my opinion.
Oh, there you go. There's Con's thoughts on Koulibaly. I agree with that in terms of like and it goes back to the attitude thing again. You expect him to be, again, the experienced one, getting stuck in, winning tackles, and the other, he just looks, again, easy to beat. And it's just weird. I just don't get it. I really don't get it at the moment. Thiago Silva came on. Obviously, Ruben picked up an injury. Thiago Silva came on. I'm going to be honest with you. He's just faultless for me. As bad as this team is, and even he's suffering from it in his own forms, you can tell in the way he's playing. He's one of the only players that holds, it carries that badge and tries to just, do as much as he can for the football club, in my opinion, in Thiago Silva. You can't knock him for his effort when it comes for this club. And I just wished that we had players on the pitch that had his attitude across other positions. I just wish we had this. We don't have it, and even him from the being surrounded by blimmin' mid players that are playing with him is struggling to get anything. He can't even get consistent in his own performances. When he came on, for me, Thiago Silva was fine yesterday. I'll give him probably a 6.57 because it was not a great game to be given 8s, 9s, and 10s. But for me, that's one of the highest, or the highest rating I'll probably give. But yeah, we've got a rating. We've got a super chat here from 58, Gorge 58 says, are Newcastle and Arsenal now guaranteed top 4? The answer to that is no. I mean, Arsenal, yes, and Newcastle, no, is what I would say. There's still a lot of football to be played on that one, mate. But thank you for the donation. What are we saying forward for Silva?
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably just give him a 6. Again, I thought he was decent off the bench. It's funny, right? Like, I don't know if you can call it the elephant in the room because there's so many elephants that are like glaringly, obviously staring you in the face about how bad this team is. But like, it's crazy to me that we're relying this hard on a 38-year-old centre back. My Lord in heaven, this is embarrassing. Like, I don't think people are deep in it this much. I thought he would have a reduced role this season, but the fact that he's played even more games than he did in the first 2 seasons that he was here when he was younger is crazy to me. And I've been impressed. I can't lie by his consistency. I feel like at the end of last season, he was starting to show a bit of his age and like not have the same impact on the ball and also off the ball with the team. But he's been good this season. I thought yesterday he was just okay, not great. A couple of crosses he could have dealt with better, but I mean overall, I mean he could have been a 0 out of 10 yesterday, and I'll still be very impressed with what he's brought to us this season. And again, that's another leader who's leaving the dressing room next summer. So that's somebody that we're gonna have to replace. And boy, let's again. My positive that I can take from what was happening right now is that at least Bowley has come in. He's shown that he's willing to invest, so we're going to still spend a lot of money like we did under Abramovich. And he's looking at putting in a long-term sustainable plan. He's been getting a recruitment team in. He's been getting his people in behind the scenes. We still need a DOF, so hopefully that gets sorted soon. But hopefully we get to a point where we're recruiting better and we're not having to rely on a 38-year-old to hold our defense because, it's mad.
It's embarrassing, isn't it, really? But he's a dying, I keep saying it, he's a dying breed of centre-back or player in this game. And, the people that are there should be taking as much as they can from a player like him before he leaves. Because when he does leave, I dread the day that he leaves. I'll be honest with you. Thiago Silva, El Monstro, what are we saying?
Favourite player at Chelsea right now by a landslide.
Yeah.
These bums around him, making him look worse than what he is. I won't forgive these bums for doing that in his last years of football at the highest level. Yesterday I'd say one of the best players on the pitch for us, solid 6 for me. One of the most progressive players for us, one of the leaders, one of the few players of quality in this Chelsea side, and he's 38 years of age, man. That's GOAT status. Because you see another 37-year-old Portuguese bum for United, and like his age has really caught up with him. So.
I like that one.
So you see Thiago Silva at this age, and even in the back four, he still looks so good. I'm just thinking how, like, I'm 25, and if I run for 2 minutes, I'm panting for dear life. So the fact he's in that shape for 90 minutes, how much football he's played, like that's legendary stuff. And I would never forgive the bums around him for letting him down.
I kind of feel sorry for him coming into Chelsea when he did with these crop of players. Like, wish it just come 5 years ago. Do you know what I mean? Or 6 years ago.
Listen, I'm just happy I got to see a legend like him play for my club. I gained an even greater respect for him that he's played here. Happy he got his Champions League because he needed that for his legacy. And I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'm supporting Brazil in the World Cup. So I hope he brings it home. He brings football back home to Brazil, gets a World Cup, and just cements his legacy, man. Because that is one of the all-time great centre backs to play the game, man.
Well, there's no point in supporting England, is it? Because they're not really going to go. Southgate's already mudded us with that squad lineup, but we move.
Listen. My message to Chelsea fans: we've enjoyed terrible football the last 12 months. Don't go in there supporting England and another terrible manager in Southgate. He wants to play fossil football. Allow it, guys. Go and enjoy the Celesta. Go and enjoy pure, amazing football with players like Neymar, Vinicius Jr., like individual brilliance, guys. This is what we need to enjoy over the summer, over the winter, right? With this Winter World Cup, man. Let's enjoy football.
I hear that. Can I say something that worries me as well, guys?
No.
It's like you'd think players right now would be trying their hardest, or would have tried their hardest to get into their national sides, right? So what about when we come back after this World Cup and our players just look even worse because the World Cup's done? Like, if this is them trying to impress their international managers, what's it going to be like afterwards? That worries me. I can't lie.
Yeah, and at the same time, people are also saying part of the reason why people like Sterling were playing like he was just because they don't want to injure themselves. And there's been a lot of injuries, isn't there, prior to the World Cup? So, yeah, it's I know what you mean. Listen, they owe after losing 4 games on the back of obviously us going to the World Cup. Them coming back, they better have a rocket up their asses. They owe us a consistent patch of wins now. And I mean, I know I'm asking for a lot. But...
No, you're speaking facts there, bro. But these guys can't even be bothered to clap away fans. So what do you think they care about getting a few results for us? They don't, bro.
Just shows how much they are not attached to this football club, and that's the problem for me. We need to get rid of the ones that don't really give a shit about this football club because they're showing it on the pitch, and plus they're taking a wage out of this football club as well. And I'm so done with protecting or even talking or, like defending this crop of players. None of them other than Thiago Silva and maybe one other or two, but that deserve defending. But it's just it's not good enough. I'm going to ask you forward on Chalobah. Because I think he's been very consistent this season. I actually think he's been good, but I don't think he was great. Had his greatest game yesterday, but I'll let you go on this one.
Yeah, he wasn't great yesterday. Probably just give him a 5.5. But on a positive, because again, it's good to be positive when it's completely terrible as we are right now. He is one of the few shining lights from the season that I can look at and take away from this halfway stage. That that's been a positive. The fact that he again, while being doubted that he was even going to have a place in this squad, just like last season. He got into the squad at the start of the season, or at least he was kept. He worked his way into the team. He didn't complain or moan about it like we've seen other players do. He just bided his time. When he got the opportunity, he performed, and he's performed well. And even in a team that is looking terrible, he's performing. And I think they even said that he moved to right back at the end of yesterday's game. Again, I'll be real. Like after we conceded, I knew the game was done, so I just stopped watching. I went and got a nap because I wanted to go watch the UFC later, so I didn't really watch, but. How he moved to right back and looked okay there. So yeah, man, like I'm happy for him because I know how much it means to him to play for this club, especially with his brother and everything. So yeah, man, like yeah, I'm happy for the guy, and that's one positive I can take from the season so far.
We're gonna go to Con next, but I just want to say one real quick thing before Con goes. Southgate, you're a fraud for not taking this guy. Yeah, you talk about players playing in form and being consistent, and you're taking Harry the Fridge Maguire and Eric the Fraud Dyer that should never even be a footballer over this guy who's actually been one of our most consistent performers. You are a fraud. Con, go on. Go. Just had to say that.
Trev is one of the few players in this Chelsea team I actually like. He's got mentality, man. The thing I love about him the most is his mentality. He's that kind of guy who, despite how good or bad he plays, he always wants to improve for the next game. And I know that like personally about him. And I think he's great off on the pitch. I think he really is a top guy. I think he's a bit of fatigue, maybe playing a part. He's played a lot of football. And he's been playing left centre back. He's been playing right centre back. He's been playing in the middle of a back. He's been playing in the back four, sorry. So like he's been all over the place as well. And I think he's been up there with Thiago Silva. And for me to say that about any defender, that's high praise, It wasn't his greatest game yesterday, and he'll be the first person to tell you that. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. We didn't score, so we was never winning that game anyway. So
true. Facts being spit right there. Let's move away from Chalobah and let's talk about. I get bored talking about this guy because I think we all, as a fan base, understand that this guy just can't. We know what we get from him. We know he's on a decline. Like, there's not much more we can ask from the guy. Got asked to go into wing back when obviously Ruben got injured. I'm going to be very quick. He wasn't great. He doesn't bring any creativity over there. Shock. We say it every blooming game when he gets played there. So I'm not going to sit here and talk about the same things that we talk about every time when it comes to Aspilicueta. It just goes to, again, show everyone that, that the quality of our depth is just so far between. It's just not good enough at the moment as well. We don't have the players that carry the same levels of performances as a Ben Chilwell, Reece James and N'Golo Kante. These type of players that would be starting in the team if they were fit. That is one of the real big problems as to why the system suffers. And I know people talk about, well, it's not individualism, it's the system. You need to get the players understand the system, and once they understand the system, you get the best out of that, and it's consistent. It doesn't work like that for me. It is true, partly true, but equally, what is important is the individuals that are coming in within the system to have the consistency, to have the level that you want to play the system. You've got to have specific profile players that can continue that level. And we don't have that on our depth, unfortunately. We have numbers. We have better numbers than what Tuchel had in terms of availability. but it's the quality of the numbers as well, which is part of the issue that we still have. And I knew this anyway. I think most of us knew this. But in terms of Azpilicueta, 4. I'll be honest with you, 4 forward.
Oh man, it's difficult talking about Aspie, bro. I can't even lie. It's difficult, man. Like, it's, you know what it is, right? It's like if you go to like parties or events, right, and like you've got that one auntie or that one uncle who, like in their prime, when they were in their 40s or even their 30s, like they could dance a bit, you know, that they had some rhythm, but now they're like in their 60s or their 70s and like they're still heading up to the dance floor and they're trying to move, but they got 2 bad knees, a bad back. And you're like, auntie, I don't want to see you trying to move it. Like you ain't got it anymore. Like you ain't got it. You ain't got the hips to be moving like that anymore. And look at Aspen, he's just not got it anymore. And I can't even blame him because, funnily enough, he didn't even want to go to the rave. He didn't want to go dance for us. He didn't want to perform for us. He wanted to leave. He wanted to go to Barcelona. And we only have one man to blame, and that's Thomas Tuchel, because he said, no, I need my captain. I need him to stay. And now, once again, we're left with him being our main backup to Reece James, who we discovered last season is a bit injury prone. And Tuchel has royally effed us with keeping Azpilicueta and is now risking his legacy in terms of ruining it even more. Like, and it sucks to see because obviously you guys remember Ivanovic, like again, club legend, amazing right back for us, but we saw how in his final season he was getting ripped up by the likes of Jefferson Montero and like had a terrible season, right? And obviously I think Aspie experienced that a couple of years ago before he's completely finished. And obviously under Tuchel, we moved into a back three. He was a bit more comfortable playing consistently for us, and that was good. I was happy for him to have that. But again, after another mediocre season last season, I just thought, you know what, it's best just to cut ties, let him go out. And now we stay in another season, and he's gonna just go out sad, bro, because these performances are terrible. Like, so yeah, man, I probably just give him if I'm honest, I probably give him a 2 because he's getting cooked defensively, offered 0 going forward. Yeah, man, that one's on Thomas Tuchel. Can't even lie.
Con, I mean, I get bored asking people about Azpilicueta. I think we were on the same boat here, but Con, what's your thoughts on that?
With Asby, it's like kind of I love the guy, like I really do. But like Forward said there, like this ain't the same Asby anymore. You know, he's like that uncle you had he's like 60 now. Like he gets up and goes, in my day, you know, and like no, it's not your day anymore, you know. And it's sad to see, but it happens, you know. Not every player, Thiago Silva, can play into that years and still look world class, you know. So it is what it is. I do partly blame Thomas Tuchel for keeping him around, for sure. It was one of the weird things Thomas Tuchel did that I did critique him for. But at the same time, he wanted to keep me at one point. He wanted Dumfries, you know, this summer. You know, and never got that. We never got that right back up for Reece James. And Reece James's availability is a problem in itself as well. As good as he is, that's a problem. You know, and that wasn't addressed because the fall off between him and Asby is massive. So I don't want to bash him too much because he ain't got it anymore. You know, when a player's bad, they're just bad. Like, what do you want Asby to do? Just magically go back 5 years? It's not going to happen. So I'll give him a 4 and just move on.
Yeah, 100%, bro. 100%. I agree with what Charlie says as well. If there is one thing that we've learned from the last 2 seasons is that we need a right back / right wing back cover. I am surprised we went through a whole summer window with not getting any, if you want my honest opinion. I know we sorted out the left side with Chilwell, but I was surprised nothing on the right. And yeah, we move. A little bit of news from Simon Phillips, which I've just put at the bottom there for you guys. Just talking about Nkunku's expected to be announced as a Chelsea player during the World Cup. So it won't be the January window that will be waiting, but it could be. Who knows? We'll see. Many sources believe this deal is all but done now, is what he said there as well. So once that breaks, or if it does, we will definitely do a show and we'll talk about it, obviously, when it does. So let's see what happens with that. I want to really have a conversation about this, and I think we all know, again, it's an area that has to be sorted. But Mateo Kovacic's performance yesterday, guys. I mean, I want to come back to this in a second because I want to show everyone just this one real clip, which pretty much sums how he was, or the midfield was the whole game, and ultimately what is one of the biggest problems with this team at the moment. So I'll let it go back again, and then I'll come out of it. We're on transition. We're trying to move forward quickly. Look at the forwards making runs, and there you go. That's the creativity we get from our midfield. And Mateo Kovacic is someone that in all fairness, is one of the ones that can do it, but also does a lot of that. And for me, and I keep talking about deep line creativity, having someone that can, you know, when we're on a quick transition, play them balls into the forward lines. And we blame the forward line a lot about, you know, their movement and whatever. But even when we do try and transition quickly, the lack of creativity and behind the knowledge to look up and go bang like that. In a bit of a way how Arsenal do things, where they just pick the ball. They're very quick with the way that they transition at the moment under Arteta, or even Man City as another good example. We just do not have it. And people say, but we do, because Kovacic does it. And this is the only one person they say, well, you just saw yesterday, he also does that. And he has been so chalk and cheese this whole season. It's not been good enough for Chelsea Football Club. And in the midfield, with him in it, and obviously Jorginho as well, who we're going to get to next, you expect with their experience to be able to at least bring, you know, put in, you know, at least a 7, 8 out of 10 performance eventually in these type of games, especially when you're back off, you know, 3 losses, which we was at this point. But the fact that we can't even do some of the basics, and that was a basic there. It wasn't a Cesc Fabregas go over the top. Oh my God, how did he see that pass? Type of pass. This is forwards on the quick break, running into pockets of spaces, waiting for the ball to come in and getting garbage. And it continues to happen every time under Tuchel and under this current manager in Graham Potter. He wasn't good. He deserves a 2. Maybe even 1. I was not impressed with Kovacic yesterday. He really wound me up yesterday. Forward, you saw the clip. Story of Chelsea's midfield, right?
100%, bro. I saw the clip. I saw a good 70 minutes, and I saw pretty much what I've seen most of the season from Kovacic. A couple decent cameos here and there, and at least he is a player who certainly is by no means on the level of Kante, Thiago Silva, Reece James. But he at times has shown that he can be a level above most of the others. But again, this is a game where you're meant to shine. You're meant to be one of the experienced guys in the team. You're now playing alongside Jorginho, so it's a pivot that you're accustomed to. We should see a level of performance that's much better than we saw against Man City or Arsenal or Brighton with different midfield combinations. But in many ways, it was almost worse than some of those performances, and very disappointing to see from Kovacic. There's a player that I'm growing very tired of. Again, sure, we can keep him around as a squad player. I guess that would be okay for me. But he's hardly indispensable at this point. Hardly indispensable. Just very limited in his game. And yeah, you're a decent ball carrier, but where else are you bringing to the team? Like, you're not bringing that progressive kind of passing that we see from the likes of Thiago at Liverpool, or Eriksen at Man United, or Xhaka even at Arsenal. Like, these guys are operating at a different level in terms of what they're bringing to the final third. And Kovacic isn't doing that. So yes, while we talk about the limitations of our attack, Kovacic is very limited in what he brings to the midfield. And I mean, you look at the players who have held the number 8 shirt for Chelsea. Like, we've had some really good players wear the number 8 shirt with a lot of talent, a lot of individual ability. And Kovacic, while he looks aesthetically like he should be on a level to be on par with guys like Lampard and etc., he's just not, man. And very disappointed to see. I'd give him a because there's players that I want to give a 1 from yesterday, and I'm thinking, is he one of them that I want to give that to? You know, I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna give him a 1. It really was that bad. So yeah, Kovacic, man, he's got to fix that.
Apparently, he's one of the players. Dills is saying that he's hearing he wants to leave. I think there's probably a couple if they want to leave. They want to leave, go. I don't give a fuck. It doesn't matter who your name is at this football club. If you're gonna do shit like that, then we don't need you here anyway. You know, I like Kovacic as well, yeah, but you know, just so inconsistent. Con, you saw the clip as well, mate. Story of Chelsea's last couple of seasons, isn't it? Just not being able to transition quick enough or even do the basics, shall we say?
I'll be honest, I've got a bit of a different opinion to use too about like Kovacic and all that. I feel like us fans are a little bit ungrateful because these midfielders have been ran into the ground, you know, because the depth just hasn't been there. So they've been really run into the ground, playing through injury, being rushed back. And then we have the audacity to really grill them for not playing 100% as they should be because they're not 100% fit. Like, I feel for Kovacic because he needs surgery. Like, how many of us could actually be doing something so intense when we need surgery, especially on something like your knee? You know, it's a big part. That's one thing I'm not going to overlook. Yeah, he could be doing better, but he should have had that surgery, man. He shouldn't be playing through injury on a consistent thing. Why is that a thing at Chelsea Football Club? That I don't think the midfielders are the issue. I think they all have their strength and all have their weaknesses, right? But it's the fact that there's only 3 senior ones there. You know, Kovac, Kante, and Jorginho, and it's been like that for how many seasons now? That's the real issue. So I blame the people on board level for that, for not getting in new midfielders. And even Thomas Tuchel, really, like, I know he highlighted it right at the end, but it should have been something he had addressed, bringing in a fresh new midfielder, like, who could really compete with these guys and give him a bit of respite. Because Kovac's a class player. Like, I think he really has the quality, but not when he's not 100% fit, you know. Not when he's not 100%.
Sorry, if I can, Jim, just to comment on that point. Listen, I do understand what you're saying, Con, and certainly I've bemoaned the fact that we've not invested in the midfield properly since 2017. Again, we brought in guys on loan like Saul and Zakaria. We've recalled the likes of Ruben, Gallagher, Gilmore, but we've not actually signed a midfielder to improve this team since 2017 on a long-term contract. So of course, and then you're dealing with a midfield that is known for being injury prone. Kante, we know, is injury prone. Kovacic, Ruben, we know are injury prone. J5 isn't actually as injury prone, but we've seen him play a lot with injury. And yeah, again, I do also sympathize a little bit with Kovac playing with injury in recent weeks for sure. But at the same time, you're one of the leaders of this group. You're meant to be a guy that's meant to improve us, take us to another level. When he's not done that enough this season, when he was fully fit as well, let's be honest, he wasn't doing that enough. And I think we have to hold this guy to quite a high standard because, again, you came from Real Madrid with a pretty good like standing in the game. He meant to take us up another level, but has he ever really shown like top quality for a consistent period for Chelsea? He's had decent seasons. I mean, he got player of the season in I think his first year, but like in terms of when we were winning big trophies, when we won the Champions League, he wasn't a mainstay in that team. It was Kante and Jorginho, who again, Jorginho's much maligned, but Jorginho played a big role in that Champions League team, and Kovacic didn't do that.
I hear what you're saying, but also this manager currently is not playing to the midfield strengths either. Like, I don't understand the point of playing Jorginho if your aim is not to have 60+ possession of the football, you know? Like, what is the point of having him in there at that point? Same with Kovacic, they're possession-based players and you're not playing possession-based football, you know? So it's also, they're not really being played to their strengths and they're having to do jobs that really they probably shouldn't be put in a position to do anyway. So, like, I'm not excusing them because they need to do better 100%, but I would definitely... Yeah, I definitely applied context when there is some, and I feel like they're not being utilised properly, and obviously they don't have that respite because they always have to play through some sort of injury at Chelsea Football Club for some reason.
You said system, so do you think it's the specific system that we've been playing that doesn't benefit the players, them two specifically, in their performances? So are they just not able to be consistent in what we ask them to do because of the way the managers are setting up? Is what we're saying.
I believe it plays a part. Yeah, I'm not going to totally excuse them and give them free license to play poorly because I don't think they're being utilised properly. But I definitely think it does play a part. Yeah, because Jem, if you're going to play Jorginho in a football team, right? If you're a manager and you're sticking Jorginho in your team, what is one of the first things that come to mind with Jorginho? Possession, right? Yeah. So why are you not looking to keep the ball when you're playing someone like Jorginho midfield? Because if that's not your intention, then why play him in the first place? Play Zakaria, play anyone else. You know, play someone who's a bit more physical, you know, who can cover ground a lot better. Don't play someone like a reducer, you know. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't.
So basically, by the sounds of it, we just don't have the right profile of players to play the system how we want, if that makes sense, because we haven't got the midfielders that we know this anyway. We need specific midfielders in to get the best out of the system. Yeah, 100%.
And that's the thing, Jim, as well. Like, setting up in like mid blocks or low blocks sometimes and try being problematic. Like, yeah, that can keep you clean sheets, but holding on to the football. Like, Sarri's season was perfect for that because if you look at Sarri's back line, it was Kepa, Rudiger, David Luiz, Azpilicueta, and Alonso, flipped with Emerson too. So, and we had the third best defensive record in England. Because why? Because we had the ball so much. And sometimes, yeah, it's boring where you're constantly recycling the ball. But it's a good way to defend, you know. So hopefully Potter takes that on board too.
To be honest, I didn't enjoy Sarri ball. I'll be honest with you guys. I didn't like. I get what you mean in terms of in its own way, it had that Tuchel way about it in terms of like we used to keep a lot of the ball and we keep moving it, and it was just that obviously with the Sarri team, he had more creativity in it, if that makes sense, for it to work better, if that makes sense in terms of the individuals that were in it.
You had an elite player up front. You had somebody who could win games on his own. That was the major difference. So yeah, we played a controlling type of football similar to Tuchel, and different but similar in the fact that you're controlling a lot of the game.
Yeah.
But you have somebody who you can receive the ball in static positions and then go past 2-3 players and make something incredible happen by himself. We haven't even got a glimmer.
It was like Pedro too. Pedro was pretty crazy.
Yeah, Pedro, 2-footed player, can go past players, he can shoot on either foot. Even Willian, again, Willian was much maligned it, but that again, obviously he was converted from left wing to right wing to make way for Hazard, which of course makes sense. But even he at least mastered some elements of his game where he could be effective on the right wing, like that ability to just get the ball stopped and then accelerate past his left back and then whipping across or do whatever. That was effective, and again, that ability to go past the player 1v1, nobody in this team has that in the attacking areas. So when you're doing that, trying to pick possession, style football, it just doesn't work. It just does not add up at all.
But I suppose if you're not always looking to try to score and like you're just trying to see out a game, see out a result, just keeping the ball. And under Potter, it just looks so poor trying to string more than 5 passes together. You know, if we're not hitting in transition, we look horrible on the ball. Absolutely horrid.
I was at the Arsenal game, Con. And I get the system and missing players playing out of position and maybe not suiting them and whatever, but some of the things that I was watching, bro, they couldn't even do the basics, man. And their football, I'm talking about 2-yard passes, you know, just clearing the ball when you've got pressure on you rather than trying to take 2 or 3 players on when you're in your own box. Do you know what I mean? Like Ruben Loftus-Cheek done that a couple of times in the Arsenal game. Like there's just little things that are just like the fundamental basics in football that they just weren't doing. And on top of that, it's then the energy levels. It's like the Arsenal game was a good example for me of a team which just didn't look comfortable anyway. But at the same time, some of the performances for some of the players on the pitch, they just didn't look like they wanted to be there. They didn't care. There was no, that's what it felt like watching them from the Matthew Harding low. It was horrible to watch. And that's what annoys me, because even though we know systems and certain players not being able to play in certain positions, or it doesn't bring the best out of them, I get that. I agree. I think that across board makes sense. Where I can't defend these players is where they don't show anything, or they're just not doing the basics. And we seem to have a couple players that seem to just have literally a fart in their brain in between games, and I don't get it. It happens too much. When we concede goals, why do we usually concede a lot of our goals? Because we switch off, because we make an individual mistake. Like, do you get what I mean? That's a problem.
Yeah, 100%. And like, as much as I did not rate Timo Werner, right? Like, I really didn't rate Timo Werner. But even when he was playing horrible, he was still working so hard every game.
Exactly.
And like, with these players, it feels like if they're not playing at a level they feel like they should be playing at, then I'm not even going to try. Like, it's basically like, oh, it's not working for me today, is what it is. I'm just going to chill. It's like, what is that mentality? Like, even if you're playing poorly, still have the effort at least. If you don't have the effort and the quality, then what's the point of you even being at Chelsea Football Club?
Exactly. 100%.
And also, just to add on that as well, like I saw a clip of it. Like I'm literally watching a clip of it just now because again I didn't watch the end of the game, but like seeing like a little brawl at the end of the game, Havertz pushing and shoving some guy and whatnot. Like, why are you showing fight after the whistle's blown? Show that fight in the 90 minutes. Go and get a goal. Go and look like you're going to be a team that can actually threaten Newcastle's back line. And it did not look like Chelsea were able to do that over 90 minutes. And yet these guys are showing fight after the whistle. Like, no one cares.
It's not the first time either. Was it Brighton or Arsenal who did that?
What? Yeah.
After the whistle blew.
Arsenal, we did that bit with Jorginho and Xhaka. Tottenham as well, of course, with Tuchel and everything that happened there. But yeah, man.
Fairly recently, I don't know if it was Man City or the game before. I think it was one of those. No, it wasn't Man City. It was the game before that.
Arsenal, maybe it was Man United. Maybe it was Man United as well.
It's just like,
remember, Sancho and Casemiro were getting onto Jorginho, and then Jorginho was just lapping it up. But listen, man, we know what these guys are, man. At the end of the day, they're not just spineless, but they've also not got the talent or ability that we've seen from previous Chelsea teams. And again, the sooner we flush these guys out, and hopefully with this new recruitment team that's being embedded in place, we identify the right profiles and build a proper football team, because we've not seen it in years, and we're seeing now that you just can't keep piecing together a player there, a big name there, a big name there. I think it's going to work. It just doesn't gel like that. You need to, again, people hate the word, but you need to build a process. You need to build a team the right way, and that's how you have sustainable success.
Well, we've got We're in the chat. I was on Jorginho next, which is the next topic. Guys, still over 275 of you here. Big up to every single one of you guys that are tuned in at the moment. Make sure you're smashing the likes. Let's get these likes up if you haven't hit it already. We're talking about Ampadu and Jorginho, and then he came out and said after that about, what did he say, Jim? Just admits if starting Jorginho in a pivot makes us look lethargic and we don't kill games off early or with intensity. You've just used two words there, which I mean, do you know what? I'm going to let Con answer this one actually, and I'll say after. Con, I mean, Jorginho's performance yesterday, and obviously your thoughts on Jorginho as well as a player and at Chelsea.
I hope the last part of his comment isn't to do like the same point, because how is it Jorginho's fault we don't kill off games? Like that just bewildered me. That's just But Jorginho actually was. He didn't even have as bad as game as people thought. You know, people see the one thing where. So I can't remember who body fainted and he fell over, but he had the most tackles for any Chelsea player. He had the most duels. Yeah, the most duels won, most tackles. And that's a recurring theme for him for the last couple of performances. Even against Arsenal, I didn't think he was too bad. So I feel a bit bad for him because we all know his limitations, right? He can't do anything about that. It's not that he can go to the gym, do a Goretzka. Maybe we should have loaned him to Bayern for a season, you know, and just get him a bit juiced up. But so we know his limitations. And when you don't play the style of football that best suits him, you know what you're going to get. So I'm not going to blame him for that. Like, his effort is always there. Just because he doesn't run fast, it doesn't mean he doesn't always try. He covers a lot of ground each game, and he I don't think he did the worst yesterday. Honestly, I don't think he did the worst with the player he is.
Yeah.
If he's getting the most tackles and the most duels won, you know, he's doing at least something. Okay.
I'm not Jorginho's biggest fan. Everyone knows this. That's known me long enough.
Yeah, we know.
The one thing I would say on the positive side of him is that I do think when he is on the pitch, he does give it. He's one of the only players I think that will always try and give his 100. Like, you can see it. And even when I watched him against Arsenal, he was, even though it was shocking, he was probably one of the only okay players in that team. However, yesterday's game, he wasn't bad, don't get me wrong, but it goes back to the whole limitation thing again, doesn't it, with him? And with Jorginho, I keep saying this and I'll stress it because Weir asked me the question at the beginning of it. The reason I say Jorginho in this squad isn't a bad thing is from a depth scenario. I don't want him starting every game, especially when you're trying to challenge for leagues. I don't think he's the type of player that we bring. I think when you bring Jorginho in is when you're winning games and you want control of the game. You bring him in and he controls the game and he navigates it with his passing ability, and that's his strengths. That's what he does. When you're asking Jorginho to bring a lot of intensity to our game and break forward and pass the balls quickly, even though I've seen him do it in recent of one game, it's just not his game again. And this is why you don't see it consistently with him, because it's not something that is built in Jorginho to do. Speed up our game and give us quick, fast transitions. But yesterday, I thought him and Kovacic just struggled. They struggled massively for me. And obviously, I gave Kovacic a 2. And Jorginho, I don't think was as bad. At the same time, I don't think he was any effective, if that makes sense, in terms of the midfield and winning the battle there. I thought Bruno had them both in his back pocket, if you want an honest opinion. But forward, what was your thoughts on it, man?
Yeah, again, I can't really be surprised watching that Jorginho performance. Again, we know the player who he is at this point in time. I don't watch him expecting fight or amazing hustle or amazing athletic attributes, right? Like, to be honest, I'm not even that big of a fan on wanting to see fight from players. If I want to see fight, I'll go watch the UFC. I'll go watch boxing. Like, that's not really what I'm here for. I'm here for seeing these guys use skills that I'm not able to do because I don't train football every single day that these guys do. I want to see abilities from these guys that impresses me as from just a technical standpoint. And with Jorginho, like, at least with him, like, and what is actually I want to say impressed me because he's been poor, but what is at least been a good sign in recent weeks is that he's trying to be more progressive with his passing, and not just with the first time lofty balls over the top that he does, like with the inside of his foot, which he's been doing a bit more now, but with less loft on them. He's been playing it a bit more direct. In general, he's breaking the lines a bit with his passing, which is good. So I'll give him kudos for that. And again, I understand the player that he is. And I was somebody that liked Sarri ball, and I thought he was great in Sarri ball, mainly because obviously it was a system that was coached well in that 4-3-3, but it was a 4-3-3 that had 2 box-to-box mids alongside him, and you gave him those passing options naturally, which made it easier to be a DM, as we've seen with registas like Busquets over the years, right? But you also had the defensive cover from players alongside him, and then also 2 mobile centre-backs behind him in Rudiger and David Luiz. So you're fully protected in that system. And again, a 3-man midfield allows you to win the midfield battle more often. And again, when you're we weren't defensive under Sarri as we were on the Tuchel, but when you're a possession-based side that isn't necessarily as full throttle like Liverpool, right? Then it helps having Jorginho because again, you're having the ball a lot, so you're not conceding many chances. Again, you can't concede a goal when you have the ball. So it naturally suits Jorginho's game to dictate the tempo and whatnot. But again, when you're playing him in a pivot alongside somebody that isn't N'Golo Kante, who, again, you talk about having 4 lungs, can run for 2 players. A lot of that is true, and it helps to cover for Jorginho, which was great in a Champions League run. But when you play him alongside just a mere mortal in Kovacic, you didn't have a good game. You then see all of Jorginho's, all of his frailties, all of his deficiencies, and again, getting bodied in certain situations, getting spun, left on the ground, leaving massive gaps in front of the back 5. Obviously, while I don't expect him to be better there, it still is frustrating to see my DM perform like that and leave those gaps and leave us so vulnerable for much of the game. So I gave Kovacic a 1 because I didn't want to give Jorginho as low a rating because I thought Jorginho was better. But at the same time, we still went to Newcastle and got dominated by Bruno Guimaraes, Sean Longstaff, Joe Willock, and Joelinton. I can't be giving you more than a 2 in that midfield. I'm sorry. So yeah, I'm giving him a 2. And again, Jem, I've been saying it for weeks since you've been doing these shows. I've been saying it for years, talking with HH on his channel. Like, I want to see a 4-3-3. I want to see a 3-man midfield. Like, if we want to win this midfield battle more often, then we need a natural 3 in midfield. There's a box that we're doing with our 2 wingers who are actually 10s in Gallagher and Mount, and then they try to drop in it. It just isn't helping us win the midfield battle. I thought when we actually had a 3 against United after we made a tactical switch, that was the best that we've looked in any of these big games. In that final 60 minutes, again, it wasn't great. Still, I don't think we were amazing that game. We could have even won it with that lucky penalty that we got. But at least then we had a better control of the game that we've seen against Brighton when we did that ludicrous 3-5-2 with the 2 wingers as our wingbacks. The strange 4-3-3 that we did against Arsenal, where it was kind of like a diamond with Havertz as like a false 9 with 2 split strikers in a sense. Mount was dropping deep, but it just didn't work. I think for me, play a traditional 4-3-3. Again, Con, obviously, he spoke highly about Kovacic, and I will admit that he isn't a pivot player. He suits playing as like a box-to-box mid as an 8. I think Ruben suits playing as a box-to-box 8 a lot more. I think Mount, generally speaking, suits that role more, though in recent weeks he's not played great there, and obviously we'll get on to Mount. But yeah, a 4-3-3 would help this team a lot. But listen, I rambled on long enough, man. I hate this team and I hate a lot of these players, bro. Like it's very
it's what it does, mate. It's what it does. This is why the World Cup coming on this time is probably a great thing for all of us, to be honest. Give us a bit of a break from it all, and hopefully we come back with some better results than what we've seen in the last couple of games. But Lewis Hall, I was excited for him to come in. Not going to lie, I thought he was great against Man City. I didn't think he was out of his depth in this game. I didn't. I thought he got stuck in. He done his bit. I actually think he looked better with Cucurella next to him rather than Koulibaly. I think the understanding looked a lot better. I just like how progressive he is. And he always hogs the wing. He always tries to give us width. It just... Too many players in the team yesterday just lacked the quality of their... and the level that they needed to be in their own performance, which is why I feel like everyone around just suffered, in my opinion. Yeah, I like Lewis Hall. He understands the role very well, the wing-back area. You can see it. You know, he gets forward and he times it perfectly when it comes to getting back and defending and helping the team. He does that very well, covering that. So I'm impressed with him, to be honest. I like him. I'll give him a 6 for this game. Lewis Hall comes in. His Premier League debut away to Newcastle. Chelsea not in no real great form, obviously, onto that. But just looking at him specifically and his performance, what was your thoughts?
I totally agree with you about, I think he looked better with Cucurella. I really like those two against Man City. I think they both brought the best out of each other. I didn't really do too bad yesterday. He wasn't as good as he was versus City, but I think he was one of our better players, man. And it's nice to see, 18 years of age playing out of position, because he's naturally a midfielder, right? And he has he wants to try, and I've been really impressed with him in the last 2 games, and I hope to see more of him. I'd give him probably a 5.5, just slightly above average.
Do you think he's a player that definitely should be in the first team now? Like, and obviously Chilwell's out now, and we don't know how long that's going to be. But do you think if we're going to play the 3 at the back specifically, he has to be a starter, or do you think Kukurea will play there with Koulibaly as a left centre back?
I'd like him to be an option, and a real option there, not just one where he's always on the bench, like Amari Hutchinson's been for the past couple of games. But definitely to be a serious contender there for sure. I don't want to use the word I want him to guarantee, because I think complacency is a big issue with this Chelsea team.
Fair enough. Forward, Lewis Hall, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, rating-wise, I wouldn't go over the top. I would just give him a 6 as well. I thought he was good. Again, I'm very happy with what he's brought to the team. I'm not also that surprised, because he looked great against Chesterfield last year. I would have liked him actually to see him get more opportunities last year as well. But again, he performed against Man City. And again, against Newcastle, one of the only players that can come away with their head sort of held high. Again, you can start to see that he isn't a natural defender. Again, caught out a couple of times by balls in behind to Almiron and whatnot. Almiron did obviously give him a tough game. But again, Almiron is right now is one of the best wingers in the league. So he gives everybody a tough time pretty much. But so defensively, he still has things to improve upon. But going forward, he is very direct. He's very positive. He's fearless. And again, what I said even on the last show, that he at least has that like half a yard of like just a burst of pace to go past players, whether that's drawing fouls or drive with the ball and not just be static like we see a lot of our players be. So a lot of positive signs from him. It's great to see. It is funny that, again, we obviously had the conversation about right wing back that we didn't necessarily address it. Obviously, with an injury prone wing back that obviously won us the Champions League. On the left side, again, we know that we have an injury prone left wing back in Chilwell. Of course, obviously won us the Champions League, was in great form last season before he obviously got the injury. We did invest 60+ million on Cucurella, who again I was a big fan of in the summer. Again, him and Koulibaly I was big fans of, but both have so far disappointed me. And funnily enough, now Lewis Hall is the guy who's looking like the one I want to see start more often than both of them. So it's kind of crazy how that's worked out. But I'm hoping he still gets opportunities after the World Cup. Again, this is what you got to do as a young player. You make your imprint on the team. You make it look better. You be fearless. You make the team better. And again, if you're good enough, you're old enough. I don't care about age, especially when a team is not performing like they are. And if we're going to embrace a project, which is what we're trying to do under Potter, then I want to see young players like this given a chance when they perform. Because I don't want to see these same toxic older players who've been performing poorly get multiple opportunities to continue to stick the place out. So, yeah, Lewis Hall, big him up, man. Big him up.
Just a quick one, lads. I know this is totally random, but Willian just created a chance against United. Willian's creating chances. Yeah, he's creating chances at his age against United. Well, our forwards, just saying.
Bring him back to Chelsea. I'm joking. Conor Gallagher, I mean, I'm fed up of talking about the forwards. I'll be honest with you. I don't know what to say. Because I knew from what I saw of the lineup that it was going to miss a specific creativity. But I don't know. What was your overall thoughts on Conor Gallagher?
I don't think he had the best of games. I think near the end he started to pick up. He pressed. I think he won the ball. Was that him who won the ball? Then he took the shot. This is a great save from Pope, by the way. It's just unlike Pope to save that. It was a bit telegraphed, but it was a decent hit. But I don't think he had the best of games. Is this my memory serving me right? But didn't he play right wing back at one point?
Yeah, he played wing back second half when Pulisic came on.
Did he?
Yeah.
Did he? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he played wing back. Yeah, he played right wing back. We moved Aspie into defense. Oh no, sorry, we took Aspie out. We moved. We rejigged it with Koulibaly, Chalobah, Thiago Silva as the back 3, and then we moved Gallagher to wing back.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna blame him too much for that second half performance when he was at wing back. That is ludicrous, by the way. Like, we talk about like Potter, like about how we felt about him, but that is such a dumb decision to do. Gallagher at wing back, I've seen it all now. But yeah,
He's
it's
limited.
like you said, Jem. Yeah.
He's limited. He's limited. Go on. What was you going to say?
No, but I got nothing to say, bro. Got nothing to say.
I'm just tired. I actually am so tired when it comes to talking Chelsea. I feel like the last 4 shows I've just been saying the same thing. I can't be asked anymore. Give me a break, bro. Give me a break. Forward. Is there anything else you want to say?
I mean, again, we said it all when it comes to this attack, but my Lord in heaven, Conor Gallagher was absolutely atrocious yesterday, and I think it has to be said. Listen, obviously, academy player, young player, we want him to do well. I think obviously what he brought off the ball in terms of his work rate, defending was good. Like, I'll give him credit for that. And when Nenzar Cancela says he was everywhere, like, I do get what he means by that, but so we can't be praising our attacking players solely for what they're doing off the ball. You need to offer more on the ball, and he was atrocious yesterday. I have to be completely honest. He was atrocious. Again, just little things like being able to scan the pitch before you receive the ball. He just doesn't have the ability to do that. Not great technically. Again, he puts a lot of hard work in, and I think he is like good at taking shots and arriving in the box to be a good goal scoring threat. Obviously, he pinched the ball off well off Bruno Guimaraes and had a good shot, which was saved. But I thought he was just so poor, man. An attack, again, offers very little in transition and just in general. I thought he was even worse when he went to wing back. We got exposed quite a lot down his side. And then I didn't see the last 20 minutes, obviously, like I said before, so I don't know how he ended the game. But I'd give him a 1 if I'm honest, man. And I really would, bro. I thought he looked inept. Like, I thought he literally looked out of his depth on many occasions on the pitch yesterday. And that's why it really was a displeasure watching it. Yeah, I really would give him a 1, bro. I can't lie.
I'll keep it with you then. Mason Mount. What are you rating Mason Mount for as you're talking?
I'll have to give him a 1 as well.
The generational baller.
Bro, like, so obviously, I talked to HH a lot of that. Like, he's been DMing me a lot about Mason Mount, because like I'm the one who will back Mason Mount on his channel when everybody's cussing him, saying he's a rubbish player, he's limited, he offers nothing, this, that, the other. And of course, Mason Mount, and they'll say things like, "Oh, what does Mason Mount offer? He offers nothing." And I'm like, no, he does offer things, this, that, the other. But it's very hard to defend him when he performs like that, bro. And again, the thing I keep saying with Mason Mount in recent weeks, he is now our marquee player, whether you like it or not. He is the Eden Hazard of this team in terms of his responsibility, the way people talk about him in the club, the way he's viewed, the amount of minutes he gets, the amount of times he's able to play even when he's in bad form. Like, he has all of that. He has the big, like, he is like the marquee player essentially, and he's now even holding out on a contract, I'm seeing as well. With only 18 months left on his deal, he wants a bigger contract than what Reece got. So, yeah, these are not good signs. So Mason Mount, I'd have to give him a 1 as well. Just abysmal. And I'm also worried about him in terms of his long-term future, because I've always said he has a world-class ceiling, and I thought that would be the case as like a midfielder, as like an 8, or maybe even later on like a pivot, like we saw Lampard transition later on when he won the Champions League in the pivot. But I just don't see the tactical intelligence, like in terms of being disciplined and playing in that midfield role. I feel like he's got so accustomed to wanting to be like the match winner and to be like sort of like having like this main character syndrome. You know, like how Gerrard used to play with Liverpool, like where he's like, oh, everything goes through me. I got to win us games. I'm like Roy of the Rovers. Like, it worked for Gerrard at Liverpool, but I just don't think Mount's gonna ever be that kind of player for us. So yeah, very worrying signs of the Mount.
We saw, I don't know if you see it, there was a clip on going across Twitter of Eunice talking about him training, and obviously he had his thoughts on him not being good enough, and he saw him in training. He basically said that he gives 10 out of 10 in training. Out of everyone, he stands out, and the reason that managers pick him is because of his performances in training. He's so on point, he's so sharp, and his work rate's just different to the other players that are training. He's always like taking training very seriously, basically. So basically what he's saying is, when people say, well, why does Mason Mount get picked so much in the Chelsea team, it's because of what the managers are seeing from Mason Mount in training, maybe more than what they're seeing from others. But I'm not seeing much from him on the pitch at the moment, and he's suffering from it. And when the system's working and Mason Mount's playing well, then Chelsea in itself is usually playing, are on good vibes, is what I'm going to say, and but it's just not seen enough of him, of it, shall I say, especially in recent games. And he's another one that's just lacking effort, but just lacking something. Whether it's just a complete drop of the team's form that's just completely took him with it, or again, like you said, is it the responsibility of a boy that's 23 years old and set the standard so high, like he has done for the first 2 seasons at Chelsea, being the player of the seasons and whatever? And I don't know, but all I know is that he needs a rocket up his bum when he gets back. And obviously he put a comment out to say that, he's going to try and make it better next, after the World Cup when they come back and try and get these wins in, and they know that it's not acceptable. But I don't know, man. I need to see more from him on the pitch. He needs to be more effective. And yeah.
Sorry, quickly, Jim, just to add a positive to that, like, again, like I said earlier on the show, like, I'm happy that these guys are being exposed and like they're recognizing that they've been performing so badly recently. They can't hide behind the fact that they were getting decent results while also still playing boring, lethargic football for most of 2022. Yeah. So I'm glad that now they've recognized that these guys are seeing that they're playing absolutely fraudulently. They're not fit enough to wear the badge the way that they're playing, and now they have to address it. There's no hiding anymore. So we'll see. Like, again, we've seen players in this position before under previous managers.
When was the last time Chelsea lost 4 games in a row? Because I always know that we lose games like 1 or 2, but then we bounce back and we win 1 or 2, and then we might lose again. But when have we actually lost 4 in a row like that?
Yeah, I actually said it when you jumped off the stream trying to fix your mic. This is like, so we lost 3 games on the bounce in the league, and that's the first time that's happened since Mourinho's second stint, just before he got sacked. So that is 7 years since that. And I mean, 4 games in all competitions. Actually, it's not 4 because of Zagreb. Because obviously that one was after the Brighton loss. Yeah. But yeah, even 4 losses in 5, with one of them being Zagreb as your win. That is abysmal form, and I don't think we've seen that many times in the last 10, 15 years.
Kazi, you missed obviously the beginning of the show, mate. We spoke about tactics and systems and whatever, bro. We're not just now talking about players and scapegoating them and whatever. It's a player rating show now, so we're talking about the rating of the player of the game. It's not scapegoating. So if you want to listen to the tactics and systems and what we said on that, rewind it for about 45 minutes, mate, and you'll find it there. Con, what are you saying? Mason Mount, the poster boy of Chelsea Football Club. What are we saying?
I think it might be your poster boy, bro, but he's not mine.
Sorry, yours is Jorginho, isn't it? Sorry.
Yeah. Nah, bro, mine's Thiago Silva. With Mason Mount, it's a player I like, right? But this season, he's just been crap. Call a spade a spade. And if you want more money than Reece James, is that what Forward said? He wants more than Reece James.
Yeah.
He's holding up for more.
Then you have to show it on the pitch, because when Reece James is playing and when he's not playing, like, you notice the difference without Reece James. And when Reece James is playing, he's the Eden Hazard of this football team. We play so much better with our right back. That sounds so crazy to say, but it's true. So he deserves that money. There's nothing to show that this guy deserves that money. Ever since Norwich went down, his goal contributions have gone down with him. I don't want to be harsh.
I just did what man said. Oh, that is mad.
I hope Johnny's not in the chat, Con, otherwise you're in trouble, mate. That's what I'm going to say.
No, but that's the thing. Like, if someone like Johnny, like, who absolutely adores him, right, and thinks he's this generation baller, how are you not the first person calling him out then? Because if you hold him to that standard and you're seeing what you're seeing, how are you not calling that out? I don't get it. Because he has been abysmal this season. And I thought at first it was just poor form. He would play back into form. I think he had like a couple of good games, and then he went back over a cliff again. And then what we get, no performance on the pitch. We just get some people saying he's good in training, and then an Instagram post saying, "Oh, we'd be better." Like, shut up, man. I don't care about your shitty Instagram post. Like, it's just like, I'm sorry. Like, I'd rather him just shut his mouth and just go enjoy his World Cup. Like, I don't want to hear from him. Like, he's been that bad, and then he just strolls around like Mr. Chelsea. No, you're not Mr. Chelsea, mate. You're a Portsmouth fan. Like, piss off. Like, he's really done my head in the season, and I like him. But look how I'm talking about him. It's how much he's frustrated me.
Yeah, because again, it's not that I think Chelsea fans do this, but I think we do look at him as being one of the players that when shit gets tough, you want him to step up. I just don't know whether he's the right player to be looking at to do that. He's not, for me. And Forward said he's like the Eden Hazard of Chelsea in terms of the overall. We're talking about not the ability, but the overall picture. I think he has had a good 2 seasons, and he has set the standards for himself, and he has dropped. And whether it's because we nearly played 200, he's nearly had 200 appearances for Chelsea, and he's only 23 years old. Whether that's to do with him being overplayed and other question marks or whatever, I think there's a couple of things with Mason Mount in terms of factor. But I agree.
And
I think
Jim,
yeah.
Sorry, bro. Do you know what don't help? It's when Graham Potter comes out and says Mason Mount's a player that you just have to keep playing as he gets a flow. Like, what is that crap?
Yeah,
Like,
rhythm.
he's playing poorly, and basically what you're saying is, don't worry, you're going to keep playing just so you can get back in your rhythm. Like, what is that? For man management, like, what am I hearing? You know, that's why I think at Chelsea right now, it's just a shambles everywhere from top to bottom.
Yeah.
Proper shambles.
And that's why for me, like I liked Potter at Brighton, and obviously again, you don't know if a manager is good enough for the big level until they get the chance to do it, and we're gonna find out with Potter. But I mean, I wanted us to be patient with Tuchel and at least wait. Again, I thought we were gonna have a bad season from the start. I didn't maybe think it would be this bad, but I wanted us just to ride it out and then get Luis Enrique after the World Cup, because at least then we know we have a manager who's managed big clubs, he's managed big egos, no egos bigger than the ones you're gonna find at Barcelona. And that's somebody who can make the tough decisions. And I don't know if Potter's going to be able to do that because, again, I don't think ability-wise he's Eden Hazard level, but his influence at the club, the way people speak about him, Mason Mount pretty much is that for us right now. And it doesn't look like Potter's able to drop him or to not cater to his needs. So
but
it's scary.
Does that go back to what I said about the training? And obviously Eunice come out with that comment saying that he trains the hardest and he looks on it and sharp and whatever. But where is that on the pitch then? Do you know what I mean? But then you can start looking at systems where he's being played. Are we paying him the raps, this, that, and the other? And that is another story for another day.
And it also comes down to the strength and depth not also performing, because again, Pulisic and Ziyech, they've not gotten as many opportunities, but they've also not done enough to like say, you know what, I should be benching Mason Mount. And that also is a big problem in itself, that we're having to rely so much on Mount because a lot of other guys aren't performing when they get opportunities.
But that's the thing, though. Do you know when people say he plays out of position? Like, he's played his best football technically out of position for Chelsea. Because when he played as an 8 under Lampard, I didn't rate him, I'll be honest. If you go from a Twitter account at that time, I didn't rate him like that. I thought it would be a decent prospect, but I didn't think he was a regular first-team player. I really didn't. So his best football, like under Tuchel, was like in that forward line. It's where they're going to score.
I always use this one comment when it comes to Mason Mount. He's a jack of all trades, but the master of nothing. Not in
Facts,
a way.
bro. That is so true. That is so
that's
true.
not, and that's not me being, before people start putting their hair outs in the chat. That's not me being horrible to Mason Mount, scapegoating him. I think Mason Mount is very good at doing a number of things. I just don't think he has that one world class. Like someone's a great world class dribbler. That you know what their ability is. They're world class at doing that. I don't look at Mount and go, he's a world class creator, a world class passer, a world class goal scorer, a world class interceptor, a world class whatever. I don't look at that. I just look at him as being a player that can do so many good things at a good level. Does that make sense? Rather than being
No.
Yeah.
I think that's the perfect description, mate. Jack of all trades, master of none. And some people take that the wrong way. That's because they're insecure about their favorite player getting spoken about. But like, he doesn't excel massively in one area, but he's good enough to the standard you'd want, really, at all the other things, And it's just his level this season. It just hasn't been good enough. It really hasn't. And I don't know, man. If you're asking for that big contract, you want more money than Reece James. But right now, if I was to buy, I'd say no. I'd tell him no.
He shouldn't be asking about money right now, should he? He should be looking at his performance on the pitch and earning that, like you said. Do you know what I mean? Show us that he should be earning that. Forget the money.
That's actually a great point.
Performances.
I didn't even think of it there.
Do you know what I mean?
I didn't think of it like that angle. That should be the last thing in your mind right now is money when you're playing this ball. You're right. But it's what it is, man.
I mean, don't get wrong, contracts are due, and you've got an agent, and they talk to the club, and it might be the case that it's not on his mind. It's just there, and he just said he wants this, and he's still trying to do it, which is probably the case. But I don't know. We'll see. Big up to JP in the chat as well. So over 200 of you guys here. Big up. We are nearly done. I'll let these guys go so they can watch the game and me as well. What is the score of Fulham Man United? Still 0-0 or what score?
No, it's 1-0. Ericsson's field.
All right. Okay. I'm not bothered watching that then. Right. What is it to sound bro? I'll start with Con. I mean, because I've been crying for this guy to be given opportunities. I like bro. I think he's again got a lot of ability, but are we just again not playing the right players behind him? Where was the creativity for him yesterday, Con? There was nothing.
Yeah, I felt sorry for him because as soon as I saw that line, I was like, yeah, this guy's not getting a sniff. And that's been an issue at Chelsea for a while. Like, even though we all bash Lukaku for the things he said, and sometimes he didn't try enough to help himself, he still didn't get enough service. It's a recurring problem with Chelsea that our strikers do not get the service they need. And yesterday was no different. I really felt for him. Really did feel for him yesterday.
Is there much else to say about his performance though? Could he done anything better? Could he hold up plays? Is there anything that stood out for you that you thought maybe he needs to work on more? The one thing I would say quickly actually before you do that, if you don't notice it, bro, I think he has to work on. I don't know if you guys agree with me. Is the way is his runs behind? He's quite obvious with the runs that he makes behind the defenders. Like, I don't know if you've seen that. Like, he's not. Like, I feel like he can time his runs better and make a better run in terms of like if someone's running forward and they're in a position where they need the striker to, do something, shimmy, and then go the other way, and that little moment of space play him in. Like, I just think sometimes these runs are very predictable. Is that the right word? Like, I don't know.
No, I agree. I agree. I think it's just like there's basic at this point. Like, I feel like his knowledge of playing as a centre forward is obviously quite limited compared to more experienced number nines. So he's not maybe doing things that are unique in that sense in terms of like when to time runs, like in terms of combining with teammates. Like, for me, like, again, I'm a big fan of Broja, but watching him in recent weeks, it does feel like he's kind of like for you guys who play FIFA, it's kind of like he's playing on zero chem with the rest of the team. Doesn't really feel connected to the team. That's not to even say that he's a bad player. I just don't feel like there's that connection yet with the rest of the team and timing runs and certain things like that. So yeah, I think that is something he definitely has to work on.
That's very true. And just sometimes like he'll dribble like really well, but then once he gets out of that little area where he's in trouble, what he does afterwards isn't always great. He doesn't really pick his head up. 100%. But he's really raw, so I still won't get on too much about him.
I see a player there. He just needs time, and obviously he needs to be playing more minutes. And I think he can do it at Chelsea. It's just whether or not Potter has the right eye, because you're looking to bring in Kunku in, and what's going with Aubameyang. I don't really rate Aubameyang, to be honest. I haven't, even when he come to Chelsea, I was a bit of sitting on the wall with him, to be honest. But I'd rather keep Broja and Nkunku than have Aubameyang and Nkunku, if that makes sense. If Potter had to make the choice of choosing from what I've seen, but we have to see what happens with him at a later stage of that. Was there anyone else? Pulisic, wasn't there? Really, I'm not even going to. I mean, I'll just keep it open to you guys. Pulisic's performance was much to say about it, really. Not really.
Didn't really get the chance.
Yeah, not great. I mean, he drove with the ball a couple of times, which is more than we saw from the others, but again, just not particularly great. And again, I only watched like maybe 10 minutes before I tuned out. So maybe I'm not the best person to speak on it. But just on Broja, who of course I did at least see 70 minutes of, right? So I can maybe speak a bit more on him. Again, like I said, he does look a bit out of sync with the other players at times. Again, there was one instance where he collided with Mount second half, which just looked very clumsy. But that said, I appreciate the fact that he's a battering ram striker, where we're not a team that creates much for our strikers. So again, all of these strikers are not going to thrive under us, but at least with him, what he offers more than Aubameyang, who's a limited poacher, and even Lukaku, who again is strong but doesn't run the lines a lot at all. He doesn't run the channels. He doesn't offer himself up that much. At least Broja will run the channels, will put himself about. He may not always win the ball or like even keep the ball for us, but at least he forces defenders to defend. And at least right now, for where we are, like, that's the most I can ask for right now where we are, to be honest. Or it's maybe not the most I can ask for, but at least it's better than what we've been seeing with Aubameyang. So I at least appreciate the fact that he will run with the ball, will drive us up the pitch, and he puts in a shift, man. So for games like that where we're playing on a counter attack, it's more beneficial to the team than to play somebody like Aubameyang who's just there to poach.
I'll be honest with you. Let's really just have a real quick word on Aubameyang, Con, because I'm not impressed with this guy. I just ain't. I don't like his mentality. I don't like his off the pitch bollocks. I don't know. He's a goal scorer and you've got to create for him and whatever, but I don't know. I wish we got Aubameyang 5-6 years ago when Arsenal got him, when he was in his prime, rather than get him now. I don't know how you feel about it. Like, what's your thoughts on Aubameyang?
Well, do you remember that time it was linked to Morata and Lukaku? I really wanted Aubameyang then. When we got him, the only reason why I was somewhat okay with it, because I think that was a signing where I was like, you know what, I really don't care about this one. It's because of Tuchel, and that was someone Tuchel actually wanted. So I was like, okay, I am not a massive fan, but back the manager there. But I'm not impressed, bro. His link up's horrible. Have you noticed that about him?
Oh,
Like how many times he will mess up a simple pass,
yeah.
and then his finishing of late has been horrible as well. So it's like, what is the point of this guy? Because he can't run, he can't link up, he's not putting things away. What's the point? So, not really impressed, mate.
He just
Not at all.
doesn't have his attitude stinks for me. I'll be honest with you. Even on the pitch, he doesn't like. He looks like one of them players that's just come for some money and just don't really care. He's just like, yeah, I'll play if I get asked to play, and if you create for me, I'll put a couple in a bet. But if you don't get me involved, then I'll just waste time. That's the attitude. That's what I get from him forward. I don't know if you feel that when you watch him.
I mean, to be honest, like again, we don't know for sure, but I would go as far to say is that's pretty much a fact. I mean, if we assess the situation for what it was, like he didn't really want to leave Barcelona again. That's the club that his grandfather wanted him to play for. He also has family there, so it's suited being there. But again, they were in their financial nonsense, lifting 25 levers just to end up in the Europa League. Hold that. But so they needed to get rid of these players, right? And they got rid of Aubameyang. We ended up taking him, cool, but like he didn't really want to join us again. He still loves Arsenal, got their title on his arm and whatnot. So obviously I knew what to expect from that. We've been wounded as Chelsea fans with so many number 9s flopping here. So I instantly just thought he's gonna flop here again. Again, I saw immediately that he's a limited number 9, and while he scored goals for Barcelona, that is a team that creates chances in high volume. Any striker worth their salt will score in that team. And obviously Arsenal, we saw his limitations towards the end there. People forgot that he was flopping at Arsenal. And again, I saw him coming to us, knowing his mentality, knowing the player that he is, the limited player that he is. It just gave me so many red flags. And again, we were the team that would give our players that we had in our prime to Arsenal. We gave them Willian past his best, David Luiz past his best, Petr Cech past his best. And now we're getting Aubameyang second hand. Like it just told me from there that it wasn't going to work out. And lo and behold, it's not worked out. And lo and behold, even worse than they're not working out on the pitch, he's going to show in his true colours that we already kind of knew was going to be the case, but we knew he didn't care. And I said it on the last show, he showed us that he's a mercenary. Because there, after an embarrassing L to our rivals, he's there liking Troops' tweet about, what is it, nothing personal, and all that nonsense. He's liking that tweet on Insta. Like, bro, like, again, I know you don't care about us, but at least pretend like you do. And he's not even showing that. So,
okay,
as soon as we get rid of him, the bell.
Sorry, it's a bit of a change of subject. Do you know one thing that really pissed me off against Man City? When Chelsea were losing and it showed us the sideline and Sterling was laughing to someone. That really annoyed me.
Yeah.
Like after the game, have your hugs and all that. But during the game when your team's losing, don't be standing there laughing. Like just don't be doing that. That really got to me, I can't lie.
I mean, to be honest, I even said the same with Sterling. I think Sterling is better than Aubameyang and he'll offer more for the club. But again, that was a player that it's comfortable for him to come back to London again. He's a London boy, grew up here. He wasn't favoured at City, so to come here on a good contract, like it just felt comfortable for him. These aren't guys with a lot to prove, and that's why I say don't sign second-hand players from our rivals. Go and sign up-and-coming guys who are hungry to prove their name at the top level. Go and sign your Nkunkus. Go and sign Rafael Leao. Go and sign these guys. Don't go and give big contracts to guys who've already done it in the game and aren't hungry and want to prove themselves, because you'll get that mentality which isn't hungry. They're just going through the motions a lot of the time. And then a team that is suffering like we are, we can't afford to be carrying those kind of people.
But to be fair though, Sterling did look good under Tuchel though.
He did actually. He had more. I think in the way that he was played under Tuchel, it was more of like Tuchel. You could tell Tuchel made him the focal point. You could tell, like you could see it. Like you're the guy I want to be on it, and like you're the one we're going to play through. He was playing him up front. I remember against Everton away, he was up front. All right, we didn't win, but he had some good chances in that game. He looked hungry. I was looking at him thinking, Jesus.
We did win that game, although it wasn't great. But you're right. He was the focal point. On the par, it's been different. He's been playing wing back and whatnot, So
yeah, but he doesn't look like he has that. Like from what I've seen in the Potter compared to Tuchel in this short period of time. Like under Tuchel, he seemed hungry. Like when I watched him, and he was just getting around the pitch. He was dropping deep, dribbling at people, running like. I was like, whoa, is this what we're going to get? Well, you could see the difference in quality from what we had to Sterling. And then Potter comes in. Yeah. And
I hear you, bro.
It's the opposite for me. He just like sort of stopped doing all that. Just slowed down.
Just turned off, didn't he?
Yeah, like I can't work it out. I watched it.
Yeah, I hear it. I mean, I guess for me, I put it maybe down to a little bit of like a new club bounce. Like he wants to impress us and whatnot. It's a new environment, so you're a bit more like open in that sense. But I don't know, man. I just always felt like with a player like him who relied so heavily on the system at City, and we know he's not clinical. He's not like a prolific dribbler in any sense. He's not top of the charts like we've seen with Hazard or the likes of Zaha or whatever, or even like Adama Traore in terms of dribbling. We know he's not that. We know he's a guy who relies on a lot of chances to finish because of his movement, although he's not a clinical striker. He's not like a specialist creator, and he's not somebody that goes past players at whim. So, like, again, I've been saying it for a long time, Jem, and you will know this. We haven't got any specialist abilities in our attack. So when you've got a midfield that we've not invested in for many years, and an attack that hasn't got any individual quality, you're gonna get performances like this. So that's why a lot of it, I just have to laugh, accept it, firm it, and just hope that we address these issues with our recruitment in the upcoming years.
I'm sorry, I know it's totally random again, but I'm watching Willian beat like fullbacks 1-on-1. Like, this is a joke. He's had such a good game in his 30 minutes, bro. You need to watch this game.
I'm going to
It's
it.
actually incredible.
Yeah. I'll go. Which is weird. Actually, that's weird because Willian's always kind of done that. I actually think I'm one of the Chelsea fans. I know there's a lot of Chelsea fans that didn't like Willian. I was actually one of the fans that actually valued what he offered Chelsea because he never scored as many goals as like the others or whatever. He scored important goals, but it was his work rate for the managers that came in. You know, like he could always put him in position and he would get up and down the pitch, and he just yeah. For me, he wasn't, like I said, the most like. He was good with the ball at his feet and he could cross and he took good free kicks and whatever and that. But his overall work rate for the teams is what always strikes me with Willian when I think of him for the old teams and that. But yeah, going off topic quickly as well. It's just something before we finish. It just comes to my head because we're sitting here. You remember when people used to say about Thomas Tuchel when he was here that the reason we play so slow and left and right and backwards is on Tuchel because he tells them to do that. That's why they do it. It's not the player. It's Tuchel that's telling them to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, look at this, right? And I'm not just. I know it's only one clip, right? But I've been to so many games where I've seen this, and he's at the edge like that. Look at his end. Look, go. Look, Conor Gallagher 3 times gets the ball, right? Reece James makes the run in front of him. And he goes sideways. Look, turns round and goes backwards. Look, and this is the thing. People have got this narrative in their head that Thomas Tuchel was asking the players to play like this. I am telling you now for a thing. There's no way in hell. Yes, he wanted us to have possession of the balls, and I get that. Yeah, but there's no way in hell that when we were on a quick transition that he wanted them to be playing it sideways, especially when your forwards are making runs like that into position. And I saw so many times last season at the Bridge where that happened, and he had that same reaction. So that narrative of Tuchel made the players play slow is bollocks. I'm just saying that, just out there.
I think a lot of people thought Tuchel was a big problem at Chelsea, a reason why we was playing so poorly and all that. I think with a new manager coming in, I think they quickly realised, oh shit, maybe I was wrong on this. And you know, I stick by it. We shouldn't have sacked the man. I miss him.
So do I. I'm not going to lie, I do. But, you know, I don't agree with the way he was sacked. I'll keep saying that, you know. I think it was quite disgusting, really. I think it was worse doing it the way they did then than it would have been just getting rid of him in the summer. At least if they would have got rid of him in the summer, we'd have all gone mad about it. Why did they do that? What the hell? He got rid of everyone, including Tuchel. At least they could have brand Graham Potter in, given him a window, worked with him to actually find some of the the players that he wants for his system, for whatever they're going to do moving forward with the philosophy, rather than give the guy players, give him a couple of games and then bin him off, and then get another manager in to then just take it in. I can't. Yeah. That confuses me. It always confuses me.
I think it's just unfortunate that it played out in the way that it did. Obviously, with their relations just breaking down after the transfer window, where you invested 300 million with his thoughts in mind. So it's just unfortunate how that played out. But obviously, my takeaway from the clip that you showed is obviously Tuchel was a very passionate manager. Yes, he did the whole friendly, I'm friend with these guys kind of vibe when he first came in, but you could still see that he was a winner behind that and he was ruthless. And again, Arteta's an easy one to look at because he's inexperienced in the game, but at least he showed early on that he was willing to be ruthless and he has that switch to him. Like, he has that ability to be angry at players and go at them without losing them completely. And I just look at Potter and it's just always so nice. It's always measured. It's always calm. Again, you get a lot of the same English rhetoric that I just don't like to hear. Again, this isn't me being xenophobic with the English people. Again, I've grown up in this country. I like this country, but I don't also want to be hearing after an L that, we huffed and puffed, we got our socks dirty and all that. I don't really want to be hearing that after the performance. I don't. Like, these are millionaire footballers that are paid a lot of money to show quality and they're not showing that. And again, just for Potter, just to end on this point, I just hope he has that side to him, because I've just not seen it so far, that he can be ruthless. Because at Chelsea Football Club, listen, it's a cutthroat world. It's a cutthroat world like no
I agree.
other. And you have
I
to
agree.
be ruthless. And
Yeah,
I'm hoping Potter can, if he hasn't got it already, he develops that, because he's going to need it quick.
100%. 100% on that one. Guys, we are going to finish off though. We need to go. I need to shoot anyway, actually. I didn't know that was the time, to be honest. But great show. Obviously, the last of Chelsea until December the 26th, 27th. I think we got Bournemouth on Boxing Day.
Thank God for that.
27th.
27th, yeah. So, you know, a nice little, I keep saying, I think it's like a get out of jail card for Potter a little bit. Just like having this happening right now and being able to bring back the Reece Jameses and whatever and go again with a fresh team. And let's say fresh, sorry, because some of them won't be fresh because they'll be playing World Cup. But, you know, that's another
Yeah.
We'll see how that happens. We'll see what happens after they come back from that and that and whatever else. So fingers crossed none of our players get injured while they're out there. We don't need it. We've had enough of injuries. Give it to someone else if they're going to get injuries. Actually, no, that was a horrible thing to say. Hope no one ever gets injured. I realised what I said. Hope no one gets injured, and that, you know, it's a good World Cup, and everyone comes back fresh, and yeah, we move into the next. But we are going to still stick to some, even though it's World Cup, we're going to do a couple of Chelsea shows, whether it's transfers. We'll talk about the overall, just Chelsea overall, all round as well, from top to bottom, from the hierarchy down to what's going on the pitch, to what we can expect in the summer. We're going to do an agenda show at some point where people can come on and argue about their agenda for 2 or 4 and actually
Kai Havertz, get ready.
But bring knowledge, bring stacks and back it up. It's not just going to be Mount is shit. Okay, why? Well, no, he's just shit. Well, tell me why. No, it's going to be, you get a lot of them Twitter dicks, unfortunately, that do all that on there. That's why I stay out of a lot of spaces, as Con already knows, on Twitter, because we got a lot of people like that on there. But no, it's going to be a show based on people that are going to come and bring their thoughts and their ideas, and then, you know, why they feel the way they feel, with a bit of stats, a bit of eye test and whatever. So that's all going to happen at some point as well, guys. But Con, bro, thank you for coming on again. It's been a while. It'd be good to have you on again very soon, my man. Well, congratulations on your 200k as well on Twitter. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And go and check Con out if you haven't already. I'm pretty sure you probably already have, but go and follow him on Twitter as well. It's in his Avi. Forward, do you want to let them know where they can find you as well?
Yeah, they can find me on @forward_100. Yeah, similar to Con, I hit a really big milestone. I hit the big 700. Yeah, big things happening on me for Twitter. But yeah, no, yeah, you can find me on there again. Like somebody said earlier, I don't have a personal channel, so that's why I like to come on channels like this to lay my thoughts bare, talk about this team, and just be real about it. Because you can be optimistic all you want, but you just have to be real at the end of the day. And also, like I said, it's not. That's why that almost like yesterday don't get me that much down, because I understand what it is. I understand what it is for what it is, and I feel like at least I've seen with the board that obviously Bolly will spend money. He's looking at building a long-term project. So yes, guys, we have to firm it for now because we're entering the mud if we're not already in it. But there's signs that we can be a top team again in the future. So we just got to firm it for now, guys.
He ain't gone anywhere, Mo. He's hidden behind the Chelsea shirt. All right.
Listen, that agenda show, get me on that with Kai Havertz. I've got all the stats. His lack of dribbling, his duels lost, I've got it all. So yeah.
That's funny. Thank God, you know, he's got rid of that scarf of Havertz. He's hiding behind the Chelsea shirt, mate. He's gone nowhere. It's sitting on the chair. Big up to every single one of you guys. Take care of yourself. Enjoy the rest of your evening or day. And we'll be back again. See you later, JP, bro. I'll see you in the chat as well. Take care. We'll see you again very soon, some point next week. Take care, guys. See you in a bit.